Welcome to the AFC. My car.
And he wins. Right in the middle of the opening.
And joining me is my main man, Mr. Mikey, also known as Apex Man, Anthony from Jets Life Podcast, and Captain D, Curtis from Ace Burhead, and Syracuse Zach. That is now his name, Syracuse Zach. Congratulations to Zach. He's going to Syracuse. He's an orange man. But listen, the Hurricane's going to kick that ass. But congratulations on that, brother. So, guys, man, what an off season so far for all of our teams. A lot of changes, a lot of things happening, and that's why we're here today. This is a off season recap and a draft preview. So for the AFC East. So let's get to it. I want to hear. We're gonna go around the round table. I want to hear everybody's thoughts on how their team went, how their offseason went. What do you guys think? How do you grade it? Let's get to it. Let's start with Curtis from Ace Per Head. Curtis, my man. Where is Curtis, my man?
I'm right here, man. What do you
Curtis.
mean?
I don't see you anymore, man. I don't see you. I don't see you, man.
Yeah.
Screwing me, man.
I can't see you, brother. Woo!
Mr. Rope.
All right, Curtis. Curtis, the dumpster fire in Miami. What is going on? I see a lot of videos that you're putting up on your channel about how much you love Chris Greer, how much you want him extended for another 25 years. You want him to own the team. Talk to me.
Well, this like I told you, this is an extension of the 25D chest from last year. So we're going to start geometrically growing it. It's going to be 1,000 D chests this year. So our thrift shopping really was a smart way to find every one of the guys we got in free agency is going to be an all-pro. The coaching here is going to turn them into superstars. And so we're on our way, man. We're not rebuilding. Chris Greer's never
Super Bowl bound, baby.
He's never even heard of it. It's not been mentioned in the building. So I have to believe him because he's an honest guy and he's excellent at what he does. So the thrift shopping is setting us up for 75,000 D chests. And you guys better watch out, all of you.
Man, all right. So Curtis, what did you like so far in the offseason? What have you not liked? I know you have some stuff going on with Hill. You have some Ramsey stuff going on. So talk to us about all of that stuff, Ramsey, Hill, the whole mess in Miami. What's going on there?
Look. We're in a rebuild. We totally wet the bed. There were some nice guys. I love the fact that we picked up Pharaoh Brown. He's a guy we should have picked up about 4 years ago.
Patriots
he can
legend.
help. Yeah. He can actually run block, and he's a physical guy. So I like him. I like Westbrook, the receiver we got. But these are like smaller bits and pieces. But we're broke. And now Ramsey wants out. And we'll probably get like a fourth, a conditional third. Hill is a disaster. He'll be gone next year. We're rebuilding. It really just comes down to this draft. The free agency was just trying to put bodies there so we don't totally wet the bed, although maybe that's the plan. So there was some nice little bits there, but I can't believe that, we're going to take these little bits and then add a draft, and then we're going to be better than we were last year. We're going to miss Campbell. We offered him $2 million. We offered Eichenberg $2.2 million. So we got a lot to do, but if we draft well, then we can, for me, it's 2027. This team is setting itself up for 2027. And that's really all it is. Anything, above not totally wetting the bed, I guess would be above expectations. So it is what it is. Miami went all in and the kitchen sink and the neighbor's kitchen sink, and it didn't come out well. And so now you got to pay the piper. Credit cards, huge.
Do you see? So you're talking about 2027, but do you see that your owner making any changes though? From Greer to McDaniel to even warrant that? Because even if you have let's say you do have a decent draft, but you're still not a playoff team, or you're barely squeaking in the playoffs, or you're still having issues within the team. Like when does your owner move on from Greer? So here's the problem that I see with you guys. Even if you're saying you're kind of in a rebuild mode, but you're in a rebuild mode with a guy in Greer that clearly hasn't gotten it right. So even 2 years from now, if you guys fire him and bring in a whole new cast, the GM, a head coach, don't you got to start all over, kind of a rebuild again? Or how do you see that happening? Or you see Greer being out after this year if things don't go right?
Hey, Tom, can you just reach over and just pull a knife out of my back? I mean, just pull a knife out of my back. Stop twisting it.
Listen,
It's not a rebuild. It's not a rebuild. It's a retool.
Yeah, retool.
Oh, yeah. We're Harbor Freight Tools. All right, go.
Listen, the way I kind of view it is that they've kind of thrown light stuff at the offense. I think they're going to draft the first 3 rounds on defense. I think they're positioning for Weaver to take over. I think they're getting defensive players through the draft that will be portable, and they're not really going to invest too much on the offense because it is so pigeonholed. It is so off the wall, kind of different than any. So basically going to say offense, here you go. Here's some small little pieces. Weaver, we're kind of preparing you to take over, maybe 627. Defensive players, even if it's a new scheme, defensive players are very portable. But we have outside zone heavy, like very heavy, Jupiter heavy. And so if you get offensive linemen for that scheme, it's not going to transition to what everybody else is doing in the league much. So I think it's going to be very, very, very light on the offense. And they're stocking talent for the defense. And I think ultimately Weaver will take over. I hope Greer goes and Marvin Allen and Champ Kelly takes over with Weaver, unless, McDaniel does something great. But it's fine. Just draft yourself talent on the defense, and whoever comes in, they can use it. Don't draft heavy on the offense because it's just not going to fit the next scheme. So I just think that's what they're doing. They're saying, here, you made your bed. Do what you got to do with it. Let's see. And so I think it's fine because if you add good talent, especially on defense, because defensive players are almost always interchangeable for the most part. And then you have a good draft next year. Whoever's there, then you're fine. If you get a new offense in here, offensive coordinator or something, then you start drafting for that offensive talent. So it's fine. We're doomed. We're doomed. We're not going
You're
anywhere.
not doomed.
Doomed.
You made 2 elite signings. Ryan Stonehouse,
Whoa.
Hunter, and
Mikey, you too, Mikey, and 2, Mikey.
And a quarterback of the future, Zach Wilson.
Oh, Zachy boy!
You broke my heart, Mikey. You broke my heart.
Zachy boy! Man, anybody have any questions for Indiana Jones over here?
I know.
Listen, cowboy.
How did that guy get $4 million? I'm like, my bad. Whatever it was.
Come on, guys. If you're gonna make fun of it, at least get it right.
I'll get up.
What are you gonna say?
I'm like my
You
team.
Want to
you have to hide
Dolphins?
questions for Curtis.
Is there anybody? Bueller.
Yes.
Bueller.
One thing I was like, I'm ready.
One thing I was a little nervous for with the Dolphins going into this offseason was, it is like Chris Greer's and Mike McDaniel's kind of last shot if you really think about the situation that they're in. I think you are kind of fortunate to the fact that they didn't do really anything crazy in free agency. Like, didn't do something like where they signed made all-in moves with this team.
No, that was last year.
And backloaded contracts. I know it was last year, and they're kind of reaping the not the benefits out. Like, they're kind of paying the price now, but they also could have really screwed you guys even more than you guys are now if they kind of took that approach. That's why it wasn't really like a huge.
Well, you heard the story,
Anthony.
back. You heard the story, right? The money man, Brandon Shaw, stepped in and told Ross not to spend any money, and then Ross clamped down on Greer and said, "You can't spend."
Yeah.
So that's what we got, man.
I really think the writing is on the wall. I think this is their last year. I mean, I can't see this being a situation that they escape with their jobs going into next year, but it's not going to be the most attractive job going into 2026 either. Do you guys have like under $10 million of free cap space at the moment? So it's going to be a little tough, but I mean, that's the only thing I would say is you're fortunate they didn't really kind of dig you guys into a much deeper hole than you're already in.
That's saying that they actually get rid of Greer. Greer has survived so many regime changes.
I can't see it again, man. I can't see it this time around.
I think he has something on Ross, man. How else can you?
But the only thing, Mikey, the only thing, have you seen his last two pressers? He was so shook. He couldn't name a leader beyond Zach Sealer. And then he was like, Tyreek Hill. He never even mentioned Tua.
Oh, he mentioned the guy who walked off the field?
That was his second leader.
That's his leader?
That's his second leader. He was shook. He looked like he was mentally breaking down. It was bad. I mean, the last two presses, it looked like he was seriously mentally breaking down. He couldn't answer questions. He was all shook up. It was insane. I've never seen anything like that in my life. I almost felt bad for him. Almost.
Not quite.
What do you do about Hill though? You're saying next year there's maybe a way out. So you could cut him and save some money on your end.
They'll trade him for something minuscule, take a cap hit a little bit, but you're not going to get much.
What do you see getting? What about Ramsey? What do you see you getting for Ramsey?
I think a fair thing is if we eat a decent amount of money, you get a fourth with a conditional that could turn to a third, depending on his health and his play. I think there's people who definitely take him if we take up the money and they'll put a conditional pick on it. I'd say fourth that could turn into a third.
Okay.
That's fair.
Okay. Captain D's been itching to talk about the Miami Dolphins.
He's the positive.
Long life fan. He's in the middle. I don't know if he's Mr. Positive. I would say Captain D is mixed feelings with the Dolphins. He goes right down the middle. So Captain D, talk to us, man. Tell me what the hell's going on in Miami, man.
Well, first of all, I want to say what's up to everybody. Nice seeing everybody back on the podcast. Zach, congrats.
Yeah.
Congrats, man. Big future ahead of you. But, obviously it was a very turbulent offseason for the Miami Dolphins, but I'm very excited. I'm excited for this season. And I say that I'm excited because this is finally a page that's going to be turned, and there's going to hopefully be some change. And
you're right, Curtis.
We're coming up. We're at the point where we're 2 weeks away from the Kentucky Derby, and usually when you're watching horse racing and stuff like that, towards the end, all the horses are coming together, and every horse is jockeying for that one window, that one window to lead to victory. And the Dolphins thought that they had that window, and they went all in. And we all can sit here, every franchise here on this panel has had its ups and downs. I think Zach's franchise has had the most history as far as winning Super Bowls, but it's a chance you have to take. You know what I mean? There's ups and downs. Obviously, some of the questions as far as what players we paid, free agency contracts going forward. It's coming back to bite us in the ass pretty badly. But moving forward, we're hearing from some of the the national media or the beat writers down in South Florida that cover the team that there could possibly be a shakeup in the front office. So that's why I'm looking positive about this. And you have to be positive because change is good, and we're going to see some changes coming up. And if you're not a real fan, I mean, I've been through some horrible seasons. You know what I mean? You gotta still try and support the team and the movement that's going to be happening. And I think these changes are going to be good. I really do.
All right. So I guess I'll ask you the same question I asked Curtis about the Hill and Ramsey situation. So what's your thoughts on both of those players?
Well, you reap what you sow. You know what I mean? We knew that Jalen Ramsey, he's going to stay out of issues off the field, but not really a locker room guy from what they're reporting. You know what I mean? This is his third team that he's been on. He's been wanted out of Jacksonville, wanted out of LA. So that's why I was talking about this window. They saw a window. They brought Jalen Ramsey in, and it didn't work out. Some of the offseason moves that we're seeing, the Dolphins are saying that this was a mutual agreement. None of us know here what was said. And
whoa, we got the Joker. Why are you laughing, Curtis? Why are you laughing?
Well, I said this on D. I said this in my live. It's like, you ever had the guy that shows up, he's had a girlfriend for a long time, and he shows up, he's like, yeah, we decided to mutually break up. It was both of our ideas.
Well,
next day, she's walking around with Big Tony.
Yeah. That's what I'm getting at, is that, the Dolphins are saying that they mutually came to an agreement that, they should seek a trade. But we don't know what the actual issue is. Jalen Ramsey hasn't spoke on it. The Dolphins, they're going to give us the politically correct answer that every fan wants to hear, but we don't really know what happened. Now, the other term I'm going to use for this podcast is the writing on the wall. What does the writing on the wall tell us? Armstead retires. Campbell goes to Arizona. He could be maybe looking at these moves and saying, I don't know how confident I am in this team. Ship me off to a better team. We don't know. It's all speculation, but the writing on the wall is there. That more than likely that decision was made on the decisions that were made by the front office and the management. As far as Tyreek Hill, it's been a sideshow, you know what I mean? And I was talking about this with Tommy when we first got Tyreek and when the deal happened, and I was like, pumped up. Oh, you got Tyreek Hill. But then I sat back and I was like, that's interesting. I wonder why a team would want to get rid of somebody in their prime. I mean, they were lighting it up, him and Patrick Mahomes. And I was just like, that's interesting. I wonder if we're going to get fleeced out of this deal or not. And sure enough, it's coming right out in the open now, off the field issues, personal issues that are domestic related, or criminal, the first game of the season last year. And now that we're locked in on contract, it's going to be tough to get rid of him. So let's see what happens.
Like a herpes. It's like a herpes.
Yeah.
I still can't believe that. The first game of the year. I've never heard that before, a player getting arrested going to.
It wasn't even on the road. It was at home that all that happened.
I know. I mean, that is fucking nuts. Yeah, man, it's like what else could happen in Miami? But I gotta say that it's not just Miami. So let's backtrack. That happens to a lot of dysfunctional teams. It's sad that I'm happy for it, but I'm sure for Miami Dolphins fans who has a history of winning. Let's be real. You guys did win Super Bowls, undefeated season. So it's not like you're the shitty, some shitty. I'm just saying. So, like, it sucks that you're in. Yeah, it sucks that you're in this situation, but you're now linked with teams like Cleveland and the Jets, like dysfunction. Now we don't know yet how the Jets are going to be with their new regime, which is good for you guys. You finally turned the page. We'll see what happens with you guys, but it just seems like the Dolphins are still in this clusterfuck, right? Of bad shit happening, and I always feel like owners have to step up eventually and just wipe their hands clear, get rid of, just start fresh. And I think it's time for the Dolphins and the owner, which who knows what the hell's going on with him, right? But he has to eventually do the right thing, start fresh. Listen, the fans may not like it, but it has to be done. It has to be done. Just like any other team that's out there, like the Browns, like the Jets, like whoever is in this same category of desperate teams do desperate things, and I feel like the Dolphins. Yeah, it's crazy, bro. The amount of teams that continue to do it. Yeah,
It starts at the top. Look at Buffalo for 17 years. We were the laughing stock of football. We got a new owner. Well, look at Washington, who was the laughing stock of football, got new owners. It starts at the top and it rolls down.
Exactly. I always said that too. Yep.
The problem with us is it's a huge, huge problem. He built the track, the Formula One racing around the stadium. He's making hand over fist money. There's no impetus. There's no drive for success. He's not leaving. He's already said, and I know people that know people in the building and stuff. It's going to be a legacy to his daughter. Nothing's changing. Nothing's changing. And I think he meant well, but he's kind of like the Three Stooges meant well type stuff. And I just don't see a way out of it.
So here's a way out. Here's a way out of it. Sorry to cut you off real quick. I'll let you go, Captain D. Here's a way out of it, I think. I think he has to get lucky, hire the right GM, and let the GM do his job. If it's the right GM. That's the roll of the dice. Because as long as he sticks with Greer, this will continue to be a thing. Year in, year out. You guys talking in the offseason of the mess that is going on in Miami. I think if your owner finds that right GM, steps back, and lets the GM and coach run the team, you might turn things around. But until then, it's going to keep doing it. Go ahead, Captain. Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying. Captain, go ahead. Sorry to cut you off.
I mean, I think I kind of disagree with Mikey in that one. I think, yes, it does start at the top, but if you look at Stephen Ross as an owner, he's, hired football people to make football decisions. He just hasn't hired the right people to make these decisions. And I get it. If you're looking at a business as you're running it, you hire people that that you feel like you can trust. But if those decisions are just not working, it's time to cut ties. But at the same time, I understand you want continuity. You want the right coach. You want the right GM to be building continuity. But unfortunately, it's just not it's not working out, and it's time for a change. I did mention this last year on the podcast that I felt that this is going to be it after the season, because once again the writing was on the wall on the performance of the team.
We're going to hire Phil 2.0.
But what will it take, though, in a serious, really serious, what will it take for your owner, though, to move on? Because it doesn't seem like he's even remotely close to moving on.
He's never moving on. He's going to pass it off to there's no reason.
No, not as owner. Moving on from Greer and McDaniel. Starting fresh. Cutting them out and getting a whole new staff in there, a whole new GM.
I think
it's harder to do that.
Half of me agrees with D. I didn't think so. And then Al from 3 yards per carry, he's got connections. He's got, legitimate passes. He goes and talked to Greer multiple times. He said that Greer's tenure is over. Even if he wins a Super Bowl or goes undefeated, he's out. That he's just going to ride off the sunset and say, look what I did. And, Champ Kelly being brought in, Marvin Allen actually going out to scout these players, and he usually just sits and grabs the dossiers, is an indication, a slight indication that he is going to move off Greer. And then you could see Greer just totally melting down mentally. So I'm hoping, but at the same token, it should have been done years ago. And so I don't know if it's going to.
Right.
I don't know if it's going to go to 26. I don't know. And half of me wants it so desperately to believe. And then I know, I'm going to believe. And then it's going to be surprise.
Right.
Wait, you don't want him around for that 2027 magical season? You want him out by then?
Well, the 27 is not a magical season, but it's a reset. We'll have about 100. We're probably 160, 170 million once you get off Ramsey. Once you get off by then. Yeah, you can get off of him. Everything can be set free. You can literally start from square one in 2027 until 25 and 26 is tethered seasons. You're chained down. And so if there's any hope, 27's the year because that's when you're free of everything and you can legitimately rebuild and restart. So
that makes sense. And then by then you have a new. Sorry, Zach. Go ahead.
Nah, you got it. I'll go after you're good.
I was gonna say, but that makes sense because if that's the case and you have that much free salary cap, just basically you're pretty much starting fresh at that point.
Yeah,
you just got to hire the right. Yeah, but you still got to hire the right GM.
A little low there. That's a little low. 150. 150.
Right. 155 year 150s. What are you getting?
Yeah, my God. So yeah. Anyways, Cotton D. Oh no, my bad, Zach. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, just real quick for question for our Dolphins guys because I'm not super familiar with the history of the Dolphins.
Should be. We beat you a couple times.
All right. Yeah.
Wildcat, baby.
And I don't think you've won a playoff games in my lifetime, but that's besides the point.
My God.
72.
Crazy but true.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But anyways, just because again I'm not super familiar with like the history of the Dolphins, do you guys think there's any chance that Miami moves on from either McDaniel or Greer in the middle of the season, or are they always like a end of the year? That's when the firings are happening. Type of.
No, they get the D. You could take it. You know, just like I do. You.
Well, I mean, I predicted last season that this upcoming season that McDaniel was going to be gone by mid-season. That's what I was feeling because I just to me right now, unless if McDaniel makes some major adjustments and tweaks, and depending on the draft, this team has got so many holes, and big holes to fill, major holes to fill as far as starters and depth. So if it goes all downhill, I could see mid-season. I'm going to stick with that prediction.
I hope you're right, D. I'm backing you like all the magic I got.
Do you have any assistant coaches that will be able to come in and actually, prop up that offense?
Yeah, Weaver. Oh God, not Frank Smith. Frank Smith takes over. I'm changing teams. Frank Smith is so useless, like tits on a bull, dude. Frank Smith better not take over.
No, I just meant from
where'd that come from?
Get rid of Daniel, who's gonna run your offense?
No, we got the guy from the Texans, and he's not that good. We got a bunch of guys. We got what's his name? I can't think of his name right now. The quarterback coach who was the OC for Seattle when they won the Super Bowls. We got 50 guys who could take over the offense, but I'm not really hot on any of them.
Would that come from ownership, you think, though, if that move was made? Or would that be a Greer or mutual or both them saying McDaniel has to go, if that would be the case?
Oh, that would be the nightmare. Greer's like, he even said listen, this is what he said in the press conference. When Mike McDaniel came here, he had a way of doing things. Now he's doing things more like we do them. Like, are you kidding me? You jack.
That's right.
It's got to be. It's not a Greer thing. It's got to be a Ross thing. With the money that they've tied into McDaniel with his contract extension last year, it's going to have to come from ownership that's going to be willing to eat that salary.
Yeah.
If Greer's back for another bill, dude, I don't know, man. I don't know. D, could you handle that if somehow, D, I'm serious. Let's say mid-season, McDaniel gets fired. They put in Wilson. They sit Tua. The end of the season, Greer's like, McDaniel and Tua. And then the media's like, yes, McDaniel and Tua. And then Greer takes over again for a new regime. What would you do? What would you do?
I don't know what I would do.
That's like Nosferatu.
Zach and Anthony laugh when that happens.
Oh, it's like he never dies. He never dies.
I wish Zach Wilson on my worst enemy, man. That guy was awful.
Wilson has like 4 games. You extend him 4-year contract.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
good Lord. All right.
Watch that guy play football and pick them second overall. I just don't understand.
I mean,
the Jets, baby. The
people behind them weren't very good either. I mean, I
get that. It was a really weird draft. I mean, I don't know. That whole year, the whole tank for Trevor thing was going on. I was very
he
much
hasn't
like,
looked good.
no, he hasn't looked good either. Yeah, I agree with that. But I was very much that year like Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, we're gonna get one of them. I'll be fine with it. Then all of a sudden, like the Jets win that game against the Rams, and I like the first mock draft I saw after that is like all of a sudden this freaking guy Zach Wilson. Who the hell is this guy? And I was like, oh, this is just some fake shit that I'm seeing. But then that shit
pro
got
day,
real.
Anthony,
real.
the pro day.
He throws
No,
off
this is before the
platform.
pro day. I'm talking about in the season.
That's
During
awful.
the season, it was always like the Jets were picking first. It was Trevor Lawrence. Jacksonville was picking second. It was Justin Fields. So I knew, I watched a lot of Justin Fields. I watched a lot of Clemson games that year. I was like, I'm fine with either one of them. Everyone was obviously head over heels for Trevor Lawrence, but I was really fine with either one of them. But then the Jets win that game, and all of a sudden, the first mock draft you pull up, Zach Wilson. Who's this? And again, I thought it was just fake news. And then the pro day set him over the top. The pro day was like, he made that throw, freaking falling back, throwing downfield.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes 2.0, didn't you know?
I mean,
and then you guys beat us, and then you build a statue of Zach Wilson outside the stadium. It's unbelievable.
No statue of Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
They did put Mike White in the Hall of Fame. They put his jersey in the Hall of Fame after he shredded up Cincinnati in that game, whatever. It was a Halloween game, I think it was. That was awesome shit.
Only the Jets.
I'm glad we're going Jets. So I'm actually, Anthony, the floor is yours. Talk to us about your Jersey Jets. Oh, and you better not leave out Fireman Ed. We want updates. Talk to us.
Well, I tell you what.
We always want updates on
going to be at the draft
with Aaron Rodgers at the moment. But yeah, busy offseason for the Jets. Obviously, we all knew what was coming. Middle of the season, everyone was fired. Writing was on the wall. Aaron Rodgers not productive enough for to give him another
what do you
season.
say? What do you know?
What do you know? Listen,
what do you say? I told you guys. You guys thought I was nuts. The big start of the season. Oh, Aaron Rodgers. He's not going in. He's gonna be all. I told you, Zach. Did I not, Zach? Did I not, Anthony? Did I, Captain D? I told you. Curtis. I told you. Aaron Rodgers. You did it. Okay, that's right. Zach did.
I was always
these guys.
Always.
Yeah, well, maybe not Captain D, but Curtis and damn Anthony loves Aaron Rodgers. Kissing that Aaron ass. Go ahead, Anthony.
Here's the thing I will say. And
Brett Favre.
You can pull a tape, whatever you want to do. I always said the whole situation, and I still stand by and says.
Oh, I'll pull the tape. You know I'll pull it.
Yeah, but anyway, the Jets made the move that they had to do. All right, the Jets had a top flight defense. I mean, that defense was elite. The couple of years with Zach Wilson there, they were losing games by a score of 17 to 14 weekly. It was happening every single week because they had terrible quarterback play. They went into that offseason, and the options were not high. You had Derek Carr out there. The Jets were picking low enough in the draft where there wasn't going to be a quarterback there for them to take. There were other names too. I kind of forget all the names, but they were all veteran options that, basically just, options that didn't make a lot of sense. And then Aaron Rodgers came out, and he wanted out of Green Bay. Coming off of 2 back-to-back Super Bowls, and then he had that down year. They made the move that needed to be made. Did it work out? Obviously not. We're standing here now with dead cap on our books, and Devontae Adams out. He's talking trash. Aaron Rodgers, he's talking trash. Everyone's talking their shit. Whatever. It's fine. Who cares anymore? The Jets made their try. The Jets fan base, they welcomed him with open arms. They gave him the welcoming that he deserved. Whatever. If he wants to go out there and start talking his shit, whatever. The Jets front office is doing the right thing right now. They're saying to turn the page. He can talk all the shit he wants. And whatever, that would be his truth and be what it is. But
hey, I gotta ask you. Sorry to cut you off. So the whole Rodgers thing, getting let go by the Jets, that whole story on McAfee. I have a different view than Mikey does. Mikey has a different view than me, and I think it's a mixed opinion on Rodgers and how that whole situation. I almost feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like they had him go out there almost as a test because it was so odd the way he explained it, at least from how I see it. So you get him there, you get him in the building. Your brand new head coach sits down with you, says, "Hold on," leaves. I mean, this is what Roger said. Goes, gets the new GM. They sit down. His first question was, I believe, what? Do you want to still be the quarterback? Right?
You still want to play?
To me,
you still want to play football. You didn't say
right?
quarterback.
Exactly. So, okay, do you still want to play? Whatever. Do you still want to play football? Quarterback, same shit. For me, that was a test as a new head coach for him to see his reply, because I feel like, because their answer Rodgers gave him was, "Yeah, I'm interested." That's a shitty answer. Yeah, so for me, right when he said that was the answer that your head coach, who wanted probably more of a, "Yeah, I'm fucking ready. Let's do this. I'm glad you're here." That's what I want to hear as a coach and a GM. He gave him the shitty, I don't know, I guess. Yeah. So to me, that's how I saw it. And then that's why they go, "Okay, we're moving into it." It was a really quick. That would be like going to any job interview. I'm just saying. And you go sit down, and the new boss, and let's say a new boss came. You're still there. Yeah, and they come in, they sit down, they go, "Hey, Tommy, how do you like it here?" "Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, it's going on. Oh, yeah, whatever." He didn't give me no promotion. He's probably going to be like, "Bro, you know what? It's been, you haven't really been doing that great. We're going to move on." Like, that's how I feel that went. So how do you feel? Do you feel like he was right, wrong, Rodgers, or do you feel like they were testing him and that's what happened?
I think they were testing him. I think the writing, I think the new regime came in understanding that he wasn't going to be the quarterback. I don't think there was a situation.
But why ask the question though? But why ask? My thing is, why ask? Like, why would they care? Then is my question. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, what? For me, like, why even?
Messaging purposes. So for messaging purposes. So are you gonna, like, if he says he doesn't want to play football anymore, the Jets put out a statement. We've mutually agreed to part ways because he's gonna retire. Blah blah blah. Or just putting the message out there the way.
Mikey, remove me. Remove me.
Like, that's what I think the question was more about. I don't think the question was, do you want to play football for the Jets? I think the legitimate the question was, do you still have interest in playing football in the NFL? And if so, how are we going to deliver this message to the national media? How would you like for us to present it? It was, I mean, I don't know if I even got there, because it sounds like there was a lot of annoyance after that statement was made. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, the whole thing, him flying out there on his own dime, I don't really care so much about a millionaire going out there on his own dime with a flight. He went out there on a private jet on his own dime. Okay, you go commercial if it's that big of a deal. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to take a private jet. I understand you have your luxuries and shit like that, but let's not pretend like, you're homeless or something like that, or you're, scrapping dimes here and making a flight all the way out to New York, whatever. There's also been reports, I think Tom Pelissero put out there, that he was already in New York for a charity event during that week. So let's, there's a lot of things here. And let's also be real. I mean, if the Jets did call Aaron Rodgers and write up his release, it would have been an issue that, I don't get good phone service in Malibu like he had the issues when he was in Green Bay. I think no matter what would have happened, no matter how the release would have happened, there would have been some sort of issue. I don't think he wanted to be released the way he did. And I think that's just the nature of the nature of it.
I think if they asked him to come back, he would have asked to be released or traded or whatever the case may be. But since they did it on their schedule, not on his schedule, it didn't sit well.
Could be that too. I mean,
if you're a team, do you want Aaron Rodgers though? Does somebody want him though?
Steelers,
like, would you guys?
Steelers.
I mean, do they? I mean,
they shouldn't anymore.
I mean, he's holding him. Yeah, he's holding for hostage, right? Go ahead, Zach.
So if I was the Steelers, like
Rudolph, that's all you got is Rudolph.
Yeah, they'll get Shore though.
He took that Pat McAfee interview as more of an opportunity to talk shit about the Jets than talking about his prospective opportunity with the Steelers. And if I was Steelers, being that organization, the culture that they have, I'd have some issues with that. Like when he was coming to the Jets, like he took that Pat McAfee interview and talked about like the details of like why you want to go to the Jets, and I'm making this decision and so on and so forth, et cetera, et cetera. But he took an opportunity there just to bash the team, and then when asked about the Steelers, it's I have some time to make that decision. There's been no deadlines, et cetera. Like if you're a team, the draft is coming up in like a few days here. The Steelers have to know: do we need to pick a quarterback? I don't think Rodgers' decision changes that. If there's a quarterback there, they're going to pick him. But like, are we desperate now? Do we need to consider trading up because we don't have a quarterback on this team? Like, there's a lot of stuff they got to worry about there, and for him to just be laissez-faire about it, I don't think it's fair for them. But
exactly,
we've dealt with that for a year, so 2 years.
Kind of connecting that to Tommy's point, like with both the Steelers and the Jets, if I'm a GM or I'm a head coach and you're looking at the quarterback for your team, that is the poster guy, that's your leader, that's your guy that you're advertising, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want a guy who's going out there and being like, maybe I'll play football. I don't really care. Like, I'll think about it. Like, yeah, guys are going to consider retirement, but there's a difference between I love football, but I don't know if I can keep doing it, or I love football, but I want to spend more time with my kids. There's a difference between that and, I play this game sometimes, and I throw touchdowns. I throw a lot of interceptions too, and it's pretty cool, I guess.
I mean, but the situation though, Steelers in a very similar situation Jets were in. What's their alternative?
Okay, but for me, listen, on that, who cares? Because all you're going to get out of Aaron Rodgers, let's be real, 1 year. You're talking about it. No, listen. No. Listen, you got a guy who's 41 years old, however old he is now, 40, 41. The most he's going to give you is a year. Let's be real. He's already said it's going to be a 1 year deal wherever he goes for $10 million. He said it, right? So really, this isn't a long term, young Aaron Rodgers we're talking about. We're talking about 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers who's only going to commit for 1 year. Why would you, as a team, unless the only way I would do it is if you have a high pick, you're drafting a young quarterback. Okay, fine, fuck it. You know what? Let's not have a disastrous season. We'll sit the young guy. We'll have an okay season with Rodgers. Whatever. But even that, he brings a lot to the table. It's Aaron Rodgers who's way out there. He's different. He goes on McAfee. He talks a lot of stuff that sometimes people agree and don't agree with, whatever, but he brings stuff to the locker room. I think for 1 year, it's not even worth it. Matter of fact, if you're a team that's looking for a quarterback, who gives your fan base should know this. It's going to be a slow year, probably not going to be a good year, but we'll have a top 5 draft pick, and we're going to probably get a quarterback. We know we are. Why go with Aaron Rodgers and win 8 games and get a top 20? You know what I mean? Like, it makes no sense. So you got to do that if you're a bad team.
No, I hear you, but again, like, I mean, the Steelers can draft a quarterback, sit behind Aaron Rodgers for a year, or if he challenges them, they don't have to feel like they have to start him. But right now, like, who's their backup? I guess I was trying to look it up. Is it Mason Rudolph over there still? Now, like,
he's the starter.
First of all, listen. First of all, if Aaron Rodgers signs anywhere, he ain't fucking being no backup. I promise you. Like, ain't no way he was signed to Pittsburgh and go, hey, if you're bringing somebody to challenge me, like, right, Mikey? There's no way his personality would let that happen. Okay, go ahead.
That'll be mutually agreed upon. I'm saying if the rookie comes in and he's showing more promise than Aaron Rodgers, then yeah, I think the Steelers have a decision to make. Like, listen, we're moving in a different direction.
Then guess what?
And then they can really
you have a major fucking problem on your hands, because guess what Aaron Rodgers would do? Straight to the motherfucking Pat McAfee show and going, I signed with this team and they promised me a starting job, and they fucked me.
And they made a decision to move to the rookie. I mean,
listen.
he stayed with Russ, old man Russ, down the stretch when Russ played like shit and left Justin.
Yeah, that was a terrible decision. Yep, I agree.
If he makes the decision to go with Rodgers, he'll go with Rodgers. He doesn't go on that.
You're right, Mike. You're right, Mikey. I agree with that too.
We're here to talk about the Jets, not
like
Rodgers
in
and
that
the
direction anyway.
Steelers.
Yeah, I know. It was just part. It's just. I know we are, but it was a crazy. He had to deal with the Jets. That's why we went down that road.
So, so much more fun than talking about the Jets. So, like,
yeah, that is true. He has a great point, Zach. Thank you, Zach. He's a smart guy. He's a smart guy.
We can either dog on Anthony here, or we can dog on Aaron Rodgers, and I know my preference there.
Dog on me all we want. Anyway,
I do love him. Andre Cisco is a baller. I love him, and he'll fit in that secondary nicely.
Yeah,
so all right, go ahead, Anthony.
On to the real story. We talked about Jets offseason. We spent about a good 15-20 minutes talking about Aaron Rodgers. All good.
Love it.
The guy's polarizing person in New Jersey.
Like the Jets office, I am now turning the page. All right. So, busy offseason. Let go of our head coach and GM last year, and Jets went through a massive interview cycle and end up going back to one of their own. Bring in Aaron Glenn, former player, defensive coordinator for the Lions, and right off the bat, I mean, he comes in his opening press conference about what was here beforehand. Jets don't have many glory days, but they had some fun days in the 90s when he was there. The team was no bullshit. They had Parcells there. Developed a winning culture in the early 2000s. It was some fun football. I mean, again. Didn't win Super Bowls, didn't get to ultimate pinnacle, but had some fun times, made the playoffs, rather consistently compared to what we've gotten the last 14, 15 years under the previous regimes. And just came in with that mentality of like what it takes to be a Jet and what it was like when he was there. And I really think that that's what this team really needs to get back to, is just going back to the grind of what winning football looks like, and he was there for it. I was super impressed with his opening press conference. He really took the time to dive into just his time there, his relationship with the people in the building, the people that are still there from when he was there. Obviously a lot has changed, but and right off the bat we go into the no bullshit stuff. I mean, he goes into it and how he wanted the job and he wanted players here that wanted to be here. And the Aaron Rodgers situation, I think, is a lot to do with what you're saying. I don't think they were testing him like you were saying, Tommy, but I do think that answer of meh, I'll figure it out, whatever. If there even was like a small like 0.1% chance, I think that was more than enough of an answer for him to understand that this is just not going to work out. You're not going to be here on your terms. We're going to let you go. We're going to let you go, formally, with plenty of time to go search out for your new team. At the time, the Giants were still on the board. I know Minnesota was out there potentially as an option. I didn't think that was going to happen because they have JJ McCarthy. And they go out there and they bring in a quarterback that, has that potential to potentially be a situation similar to what Baker Mayfield had with Tampa and what Sam Darnold had with the Vikings. My thing on Justin Fields, I don't think he has the throwing ability that those players have. So I don't think this is going to be like that reclamation project type of thing. But he's a player with talent, can run the football. And the Jets are going to be running the football like primarily. That's going to be the kind of system they have. Their offense screams it out. They have receivers out there that are better run blockers than pass catchers at times. They don't have many options as pass catchers behind Garrett Wilson. This is going to be a run-heavy offense. And they took the approach of just being really quiet this offseason. After that, Justin Fields, 2-year, $40 million. They brought back one of their own, Jamie Sherwood, a player that, third-round pick, exceeded expectations on his rookie contract, and earns a spot to be the quarterback of the defense and a linebacker for Aaron Glenn. And then after that, it was really just filling out this roster. They still have a lot of weaknesses, a lot of areas to fill come draft weekend. But the good thing about this team too is there's still some hope that this team that was, potentially Super Bowl caliber 2 years ago on the defense side of the football, there's still a lot of those same pieces there. Last season was just a catastrophe. They fired the head coach, defensive minded, and defense just fell apart. They bring in a new defensive minded guy who, with Detroit, they didn't spend a lot of first round picks. They did use Aiden Hutchinson, but they didn't spend a lot of their premium capital on defensive players, and he was able to get the most out of second round, third round guys to make that a pretty good defense. It was never elite, but it was they definitely played over their expectations at times. And hopefully Aaron Glenn comes in with that same philosophy and is able to get the best out of these players again. Sauce had a down year. He was still good last year, but he had a down year compared to 2 back-to-back All-Pros coming into the season. And you're hoping a defensive-minded guy like Aaron Glenn can get the best out of him. They took some flyers, too, with guys like Brandon Stevens from the Ravens. What wasn't crazy about that signing, but he's a guy that doesn't let a lot of space in between him. He just doesn't make enough plays on the football, and also does tend to get burned at times. And then, Mike, you were talking about Andre Sisco. That was something I was really excited for too, because a couple years ago, that guy was basically a ball hawk in the middle of the field. He was fun to watch last season. I don't know Jacksonville was just a mess last year, so I'm not sure what happened there. And then, like I said, just small moves here and there. And the Jets are moving in silence, which is a major, major difference than what we saw the last couple of years out of them. And that's a good change.
I got 2 questions for you.
Well, man, yeah, go ahead.
One, were you surprised they went defense, minded head coach again? And 2, do you think Garrett Wilson becomes unhappy mid-season if they're not throwing the ball?
So your first question on the defensive minded side, I was a little shocked until I really started seeing the names out there. And the top few options for me were on the defense side of the ball. So I kind of thought that it was gonna be that route anyway. Like Liam Cohen never really kind of moved the needle for me. He was fun to watch. And then you watch that press conference. Ooh boy, Duval,
right?
That was just awkward.
Oh man.
It was an interesting one. I mean, I don't know. I always the Jets have continuously gone defense side of the ball. So I was hoping at some point we would kind of hit that offensive side of the football. Our only offensive minded coach since the 90s was Adam Gase, and that tells you a lot.
Do you think that's the reason why they don't do it?
Good.
Yes, I like him. Bring him back.
No, I don't think that's the reason why. I mean, when they hired Saleh as a defensive-minded guy, he was the top target at the time, that offseason. Aaron Glenn was right up there with, the big names on the board this offseason too. I just think it's a timing thing. If it was an offseason where the top targets were offensive-minded, Ben Johnson was never coming here. I mean, I would have loved to have Ben Johnson. That was never happening. He wanted to go somewhere with an established quarterback, which the Jets do not have at the moment. So really the top names that would have been options as offensive minded just weren't going to be here. So you turn that page to who's left, and the defensive guys were the top of the list.
Hey, Anthony, quick question for you.
Yep.
So we acquired Ashton Davis off of free agency, and preliminary, we're projecting maybe we're going to give him a shot to start at safety. Mm-hmm. I know with the Jets, it seemed like he had a knack for getting some interceptions and stuff like that. What do you think? What are we getting from? What did you see with Ashton Davis? I know he had the interceptions.
Good one.
Yeah. I like Ashton Davis as a rotational player. I don't like him as an every down player, to be honest with you. He did have a knack of finding the football, and that's a good trait to have. It's just he's kind of a player that takes some bad angles at times. He's not your typical ball hawk kind of guy. More of an in the box kind of guy. Can make some hits. But I think that takes a toll on really any safety in the league, whatever. But yeah, I did see that at some point. Dolphins kind of projecting him out as a starter. I don't think that's the best use of the Dolphins' time. I think they do need to go DB in one of the earlier rounds as like but he's a good rotational player. I like Ashton Davis as that good special teams guy as well. To be your everyday starting safety, I think that might be more of a problem that you guys would be crying about in the next few months.
Chris Greer likes him. That's got to be enough. That's enough for me, man.
Anthony Weaver is.
I mean, there's stuff to like there. I'm not gonna say Ashton Davis is a terrible player. But I mean, he made it through a few Jets regimes over the last couple of years.
Is Ashton Davis the replacement for Holland?
Can't be that.
As of right now,
question for Captain B.
Holland wasn't even that good, man. He hasn't been good for years.
He can't be a replacement. Well, Holland has some down years, but he can't be that. Again,
well, Anthony, you're
nickel, like
you're a good guy.
Like third option, but not your every down guy.
You're a good guy, Anthony. I hope you guys get back to your Rex Ryan winning ways. Now, let's get to Syracuse Zach and his Patriots. What is going on, Syracuse Zach? Talk to us.
Yeah, I was saying this before we went live. I'm cautiously optimistic about the Patriots this year. I think in free agency, they kind of did everything they could. Now, are there still holes on this team? Yes, absolutely. But when you look at left tackle, that's the biggest hole. They were offering Ronnie Stanley, I think it's reported, around 25 to 26 million a year, and then he took 22 with the Ravens. Like, there's nothing you can really do about that. Wow. They're offering Chris Godwin at receiver. I think it was somewhere in the $28 to $30 million per year range, and then he took 21 to stay with the Buccaneers. They did what they could, right? They offered, honestly, far too much money for Chris Godwin, but they have money to burn, and they offered a sizable contract for Ronnie Stanley. And they just couldn't get it done because both of those guys wanted to stay home. They wanted to stay where they were drafted and where they've been since they were drafted. After that, they probably got the next best receiver on the market with Stephon Diggs, if not somebody who's up there in that sort of range. Far worse than Chris Godwin, but far better than Jalen Polk or everyone else in that receiver room. So it's an upgrade, and that's what they've needed. Defensively, they really filled it out. Could still use an edge rusher, but Milton Williams on the interior, pairing him up with Christian Barmore, hoping that he's healthy after everything he had to go through last year. Getting guys like Robert Spillane in the linebacker room, who
great pickup.
He was one of the best tacklers in the NFL last year. Getting guys like Carlton Davis, like, it's going to be tough to play the Patriots defense. I mean, when you have Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis locking up the receivers, which both of those guys can win one-on-one and often do win one-on-one, the pass rush, that's going to help the pass rush, right? When the number one and number two receivers are, for the most part, taken out of the game, it's going to be hard for an offense to move the ball, and it's going to be hard for a quarterback to find an open target. And things are going to happen in the front seven in the pass rush. So I think this defense is going to be pretty solid. Also adding guys like Harold Landry, who can, not a great pass rush win rate, actually pretty poor pass rush win rate, but still a guy who can produce to a decent extent. But again, it's just a matter of who are they going to pick up to fill out that offense. And also, one last thing I probably should have mentioned earlier. The one thing that I'd say kind of upset about with this offseason, they got rid of all of their leaders. You get rid of David Andrews, you cut him, who was a multi-time captain, almost a 10-year veteran, I believe, at center. Very good player. Coming off of an injury, so there are question marks there, but still, nonetheless, a captain, You cut Juwan Bentley. Again, a captain, great player, also coming off of an injury, but still, he's a Patriot. He's been a Patriot for his whole NFL career. He's a leader on that team. You let Jonathan Jones walk in free agency, a guy who said he was pretty open to coming back. Not a captain, but still a leader, a veteran, both on the field, off the field, in the community, all of that. You let Dietrich Wise walk. Again, a captain, a guy who is a leader on this team. So yeah, I know it's a new regime. Mike Vrabel wants to bring in his guys. He wants to bring in guys like Spillane. He wants to bring in guys like Carlton Davis. But still, I think you have to mix it with old guys from the old regime, because that's what the majority of the roster is going to be, right? You have to have some leaders of those guys to mesh in with also the leaders of the new regime. So that's the only kind of gripe I've had with the offseason. But other than that, I think they've done what they could. Left tackle is still a huge hole. Could still use a better receiver. But what else were they going to do? I mean, there was nothing really for them to do to upgrade there.
Yeah, I mean, you guys got the draft coming up. Go ahead.
Sorry? Were you excited to see McDaniels come back?
Yeah, I love McDaniels. I love McDaniels. I mean, he's I think there's a real debate to be had. Not that this necessarily matters that much, but I think there's a debate to be had that he's the best offensive coordinator of all time. I mean, he's a guy who's won countless Super Bowls. He gets critiqued for sometimes his lack of creativity and his conservative play calling, but I think he still mixes it in well with, like other trick plays and things to catch the defense off guard. So I have nothing against McDaniels. I think he's a great offensive coordinator, and after suffering through some bad offensive coordinators these past few years, definitely I've had a greater appreciation for McDaniels.
I also see you guys hired Doug Marrone as your offensive line coach. That was a smart hire. He's a good offensive line coach.
Yeah, this coaching staff is there are some positions that are not too great. I wasn't a huge fan of their defensive hires. Mike Pellegrino, you guys got him. Debatably the best cornerbacks coach in the league. He's up there. Has developed guys like J.C. Jackson, Christian Gonzalez. Definitely helped out Stephon Gilmore a ton. I don't see why they would let him go. But offensively, getting Doug Marrone as the offensive line coach, getting Thomas Brown in there, who was the interim head coach for the Bears this past season, after I think he started out as receivers or tight ends coach, and then someone got fired. He was promoted to interim offensive coordinator, and when someone got fired again, he was promoted to interim head coach. So just guys with experience, guys who know what they're doing, because I mean, that was kind of the biggest issue last year, is no one really knew what they were doing. But now they really have the exact opposite of that.
Nice.
That was all. I mean, I'm sure you know, Zach, or that was all planned out. There was, I think that the whole Vrabel thing, that was all. This was in the works, in my opinion. That was all in the works. Vrabel was always going to go to New England, but they had to give him the 1 year because it was on his contract. Your Mayo or whatever. But you guys are definitely doing things the right way, as far as I see it. Because Mikey knows this, and Captain Dean, like we were down and out for a long time, and we know what it takes to finally get the right owner and GM and I guess coach. I'm not thrilled with my coach, but he's done a good job. But also do it the right way. Go through the draft. Find your quarterback through the draft. Cut. Big contracts away. Get rid of the guys like Marcellus Therius. Start all over. Start fresh. And that's exactly what you guys are doing. Get your cap right, sign free agents, go through the draft. You found your quarterback, I believe. So you're doing it the right way. You're not out there signing 40-year-old quarterbacks or trading for Deshaun Watson or, getting a Derek Carr. Like, these teams that do that are just cycling through these quarterbacks. And it's just, for me, as going through this, for been a fan since '89, watch this team. I understand what it takes. I know I get it takes a long time to find the right quarterback, but I much rather, as a fan, wait until I get it right through the draft than be desperate, set the team even further back by doing crazy trades for like the Watson deal or going after older quarterbacks. We've done that in Buffalo. We've done terrible decisions. Giving decent contracts to guys that were okay. Look, I love Tyrod Taylor, but come on, man. You know what I mean? I like Fitzpatrick, but come on.
He broke the drought.
I know, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean, though, right? Like, he wasn't the future. He's never. Yeah, could have been. Yeah, exactly. So, look, my point is, you guys are definitely a team that is on the rise. You're doing it right. It's. I hate to see it, and we'll see. I think the Jets did the right thing too, and they're starting fresh, and we'll see what happens with the Jets. The Dolphins. Sorry, guys, I don't. Until you guys get rid of Greer and McDaniel, I see this trend happening year after year. You have to start fresh. You have to cut bait.
Hey, Tommy, you ever watch Groundhog Day? You ever watch Groundhog Day?
Oh, I love that movie. Yes, I did. I love it. I love that movie. Yeah, I know. So, dude, trust me. I listen, as a Bills fan, Mikey knows, right? We know. We've been down this road. 17 years of it. It was terrible. Like, we understand what you're going through, and we understand, the GMs and the coaches that come through the door that talk in the big game and never deliver. And we found at least the GM and maybe the coach. I don't think so, but at least we're winning. Yes, yeah, we definitely hit on the quarter. So, anyways, let's get to the draft. Anybody have any questions for Zach and the Patriots, the New England Patriots?
I don't think.
Anyone?
I don't think it's a question. You go first, Anthony.
So, Jets brought in a player this offseason with a little bit of a weird situation in New England. I'm not going to try and butcher his first name, but Okorafor, right tackle. Yeah. What the hell happened there? He just left.
Yeah, so he was career right tackle in Pittsburgh, and then
selling blood diamonds.
Left tackle. He was what I think maybe I might have the years completely wrong on this, but I think he was like a 8-year veteran in Pittsburgh, something along those lines. And I'm gonna try to look it up as I talk, but Patriots moved him to left, and he stunk week 1. I think he was drafted in 2018. I think he might have gotten injured week 1, but I don't completely remember. And then he just left the team because he had no interest in playing left tackle. I think he was told he would play right tackle when he signed, and then he didn't. So, yeah, I wouldn't say it's anything to be worried about. Honestly, he was just dealt a poor hand.
They addressed it too in one of their press conferences that they had that conversation with him specifically about what happened there. I just thought it was a weird situation. Like, that doesn't happen every day.
Very.
All right. Anyway, I have no idea who that guy is you're talking about. Okazuku. So Okazuku's fine. Curtis.
Right tackle.
No, I think that, if you look at the way the NFL is moving, it's moving away from fun ball. It's moving towards pass balance, attacking the A and B gap, being able to stop the A and B gap. That's what it's all about, because these defenses know how to limit the heavy volume pass attack. And so I think that you guys have a very coherent build. I mean, Vrabel and McDaniel, if he can make Mac Jones do well, what's he going to do with May? And so I think the only thing really is I think the biggest thing for you guys, and I hate the team. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't really hate many teams, but man, the last 20 something years, well, probably the last couple of years, it was torture. But I got to call it like I see it from a football standpoint. It's a very, very coherent build. It's very in the vein of what's working in the NFL. It's a smart build so far. Now, the only thing that concerns me for you guys, not like, I'm concerned about it, but from a football standpoint is that 4th round pick, Campbell or Membu, it's going to be a huge one. I like Campbell. I just don't know. He's got real short arms. I went through the list of like some of the best guys, and they're a little shorter than even some of the best short armed guys. I like him. But so that pick right there is going to be huge for your guys' direction.
It's going to be Genty, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, right, man.
Honestly, like I wouldn't even hate it. I think Genty would take off a lot of the pressure from Drake May, but as for Campbell, the arm length is bad. What's worse is the wingspan, because some guys with short arms, they can kind of compensate for it a little bit by having like very wide shoulders. I think one of
he's got narrow shoulders too.
Yeah, very. I think one of the examples is Rashawn Slater. Like, he's a 33-inch arm guy, but he's built like a building. That's what some people have said. I think it was I heard Daniel Jeremiah say that. Campbell's wingspan is on mockdraftables.com, which it's a little bit spotty. Like, there are a lot of guys missing, but it has prospect measurements dating back to 1989, I think, sometime around then. Will Campbell has the shortest wingspan out of any of the offensive tackle prospects on there.
Yeah.
Will Campbell has a shorter wingspan than Willie Lampkin, who is a 5'10" guard coming out of UNC.
Wow, that's insane. I think he could play. I think he could play. I think if you grabbed him, worst case scenario, I think you could put Strange at center and move him to guard. But then you'd still. I think Membo is the guy you got to go with, but he's a right tackle. What?
So that's the question.
4th overall pick on a guard. That's wild.
Yeah, well,
that's the question. But in this draft class, it's like
you got to get it off. You can't run the show, dude. I think May went to 10 5 times for head injuries last year.
Yeah. So like with Campbell, I am a bit more pessimistic on Campbell than I think the majority are. Yes, he was great in the SEC. Yes, he had that number 7 patch that LSU prioritizes so much, and it's so important for the Tigers fans. But while the wins on tape are good, the losses on tape are very bad, like very concerning. And if he has losses like that against South Carolina, who had a good pass rush, but if
Not
his losses like that,
rush.
exactly. If he has losses like that against college guys, I don't want to even imagine what's going to happen in the NFL. Again, not every prospect is perfect, especially in this draft class. Tackles are going to give up sacks. Tackles are going to lose. But some of Campbell's losses are very concerning. So, is it him? Is it Membu? The thing that's kind of interesting with Membu is I believe earlier this year, like a few months ago, Elliot Wolf, Patriots GM, had said how, we don't want to move a right tackle to left tackle again because they tried it last year with Caden Wallace and it didn't work at all. And then now you're looking at it, and maybe Membu's the best option on the board because it's either him or it's a guy who probably projects better as a guard.
Or take Genty. Or what if someone does take Sanders early and Carter or Hunter fall to you?
I hope
and
so.
Then you follow that up with Connolly or Banks or one of those guys. Then you trade back into round 1 to grab
Banks
that
goes top 15.
You think Banks goes top 15?
I think he'll go top 20.
I think there's a chance. I actually had him falling. I did a quick mock draft. I had him falling to Houston at 25, and I know that's the lowest he'll go. Daniel Jeremiah said that he's been told if Banks is on the board for the Texans, that's the pick no matter what. What's fun with that, though, is the Vikings are picking at 24. They only have, I think, 4 picks in this draft, and the value chart for the Patriots' second-round pick and one of their 2 third-round picks is exactly the value of the 24th pick. So if Banks is there, maybe they move up. If they were,
I like the other kid. What's the other kid with the bad knee? I think
Josh Simmons.
Yeah.
Patellar
Banks concerns
tendon,
me a little bit.
that's-
Banks concerns he concerns me a little bit because he's a great mover, but he's kind of struggles a little bit with the outside rush, and he struggles a little bit about moving guys unless he's got good leverage. I'm not super high on Banks. He could be. I didn't watch a ton of tape.
Yeah.
I don't know if that he'd be worth that.
I mean, you have Zabel, you have Conley Jr., you have Donovan Jackson. So there are, late round ones, early round 2 guys that you could come back and grab if you decide not to go that route with the 4th pick.
Yeah, I think Ursari's the most likely, who he might even be there at 38. Like, when you look at those guys you just mentioned, Zabel's going to be on the interior in the NFL. Donovan Jackson will probably be on the interior. And there are even questions about, like, Kelvin Banks. He might get moved inside. Josh Simmons, I don't know enough about offensive line scouting, in all honesty, to...
Me neither. That's just my opinion.
Sure. I believe you.
All right, so look.
But
look.
When you look at all those guys who are currently tackles, who are probably guards at the next level, you look at Josh Simmons, who he would have been probably the pick at 4 if he wasn't injured, but he is injured. Patellar tendon. That's something that a lot of people.
Serious.
That's career ending in some cases.
It's a sketchy draft, except for Membo.
Yeah, but
he could be like Onwenu. He reminds me like he could end up being like Onwenu, stuck inside.
Yeah, and because he's also 6'4". You don't really want your
6'3", I think.
I have. Hold on, I actually.
6'3", 6'4". I don't know. My memory's. I'm old. Somewhere like that.
I have it pulled up. He's 6'4" and a quarter. So, but still, for an offensive tackle, that's not great. And again, you have to project.
Zach Tom did it though. Zach Tom's on like 6'3". It's not, you want bigger guys. You want 6'5".
Yeah,
6'6".
For tackle,
some of you guys are doing it. It's a really good. That's what I'm saying. It's like you guys are in such a great spot at where you are with what you've done. It's that 4th pick is such a cute because look, if you go for Genty, what about Ramondre Stevens? That guy is so talented.
And he's a good player, but you're not passing up on a generational guy if you think that's what Genty is to keep Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah, plus, but then you got to like if you go for Genty, which I would say, oh yeah, he's better than Stevenson, but now you still got Lowe and Strange. That's a little,
Stevenson did have the fumble issues, though. He had the major fumble issue last year, though.
I mean, he was,
and that's
interesting.
Yeah, that's concerning.
So interesting. I'm like trying to figure it out because I'm trying to do my own mock draft. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm like, what the hell do you do?
It's gonna be Campbell, and I don't know that I'm gonna be happy about it. I love Jalen Walker, and it's a little bit hypocritical of me to say this because I've spent the last few weeks convincing myself that I don't like Will Campbell because of his bad measurements, and then I'm thinking about Jalen Walker, who's like 6'1" as an edge rusher.
Yeah.
But I love Jalen Walker. I think he's a stud. I think he's going to be a great player. But do they take edge at 4, assuming Abdul Carter's not on the board? Like, is it worth them taking edge at 4? If you're really in love,
maybe you can get a trade back.
I hope so.
Who's he trading up for, though?
Maybe Genty. I mean, let's say Chicago loves. There's been a lot of rumors about Chicago loving Genty,
Jacksonville loves him too.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that might be smoke. Honestly, I think that might just be, trying to get people to move up. But I think the Raiders love Genty and Chicago loves Genty. And if Chicago is really that much in love with him, I could see that happening for sure. Plus, that might end up screwing over the Jets a little bit because then I think the Raiders go with
you know what's going to happen?
And
this is the Jets we're talking about. Fun. They're going to trade up and they're going to pay the premium in conference tax.
Give us
and
Garrett Wilson.
You'd love that.
so let's move on because Curtis has his NFL films to watch. Super Bowl 1 through 5. Curtis loves his first 5 Super Bowls.
I got something to watch, Tommy. You got nada, man.
In there.
0. I can go back.
Hey, I got my tablet, bro.
Don't make me stick that knife back in you, Curtis.
So close.
Here
4 times.
Here on the gridiron.
4 times the charm, Tommy. 3rd time's no. 4th time's the charm, Tommy.
So now that we're talking draft, let's get to it. Let's start with Captain D. Draft. Captain D, what do you want your team to do in this 2025 NFL draft?
Well, I hope the Dolphins are hoping that Jimmy Johnson's going to pick up his phone so we can pick Jimmy Johnson's brain on all those pretty good drafts that he had back in the mid 90s because we need a lot. We need as much. Every draft is important. Every draft is important, but this draft is vital for the future of the Dolphins moving forward. Very, very vital. And at 13, a lot of the consensus is cornerback, safety around that area. I've heard Will Johnson. I'm begging and pleading that the Dolphins do not pick Will Johnson. I'm hoping and praying they don't pick Will Johnson.
I projected you guys to trade up for him, by the way.
Hot take. I like it.
I would have to disagree. Being in the state where the Dolphins are at right now, and so much need across the board on the defensive line and the offensive line,
such a Dolphin move,
and
exactly.
And the safety position and quarter position, the Dolphins they need to trade back in this draft. I think some pieces will come together. This draft is going to be a lot of moving pieces early on. Shador Sanders, Genty, where all these players are going. I think someone's going to get a little happy and want to trade in. I was looking at possibly the Rams. They have 2 third-round picks. That could be a possibility. But the Dolphins definitely should trade down and get some more assets with some of these young players.
Who do you think a team's trading up for? Just out of curiosity.
That's a good question. It all depends how the pieces are going to fall. We were just talking about your choice. You have a couple choices right there, but it all depends on where certain players are going to be picked, and if maybe someone's in love with Sanders, maybe Jahdae Barron, someone's in.
Could actually be. I don't know what their situation is with picks, but. I wouldn't hate the Chargers moving up and jumping the Colts to get Loveland because I think the Colts are a lock to pick Loveland, assuming Tyler Warren's already off the board.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Some other people who could be traded up for. Graham is a name that everyone seems to really like.
I think he'll be off the board by then. Yeah, he'll be a top 7 guy.
I would agree, but I can see people trying to move up to grab him.
Yeah.
Tyler Warren is rising up. I think he's gonna be a top 10 pick. That's where in the top 10 that people are gonna have to go up to get him. Jalen Walker, you just talked about, he's rising up boards right now. Somebody who runs a 4.3 is gonna fall in love with that guy and that talent. Like look at Trayvon Walker a few years ago, went over Hutchinson because he just had that late rise.
Yep.
Right. So I think some of those guys don't be surprised if you hear Mike Green come off the board early too.
I have him at 15 to the Falcons.
Okay, top 15. I can see that.
Yeah. Ultimately, if the Dolphins can, like I said, if they can trade back, possibly grab a defensive tackle like Grant later in the first round, that would be sweet. If not, if they can't trade out of it, hopefully they don't go best player available and they just address, hopefully Barron is there or someone on the offensive line.
I think I agree with you.
All
The thing with Will Johnson is you got May, you got Fields, and you got Allen. And he struggles a little bit with the cover, with the tackling, and we've been doing like when Weaver first came, he wanted to run a lot of zeros on third down, and that's where you kind of need the great cover guy. But last year he got away with a lot of cover 3, and Barron fits that all over the place thing. But it would have been a lot better if Ramsey was here, but he's gone, and so it's just the boundary cornerback's a problem. It could be really sticky for the Dolphins because I think Shedeur Sanders goes to the Saints because Carr's injured.
I think
you don't think so.
So draft night, day 1 is my second favorite night of the year, second favorite day of the year behind Christmas. So I've been 24/7 draft. It sounds like the Saints like Dart more than Shedeur, and that they probably aren't going QB at 9. Could this be smoke? Yeah. Like, draft season was also lying season. That's how teams get on top of each other. But I don't see Shedeur going to the Saints.
They need a quarterback.
It's
not
I heard
Vegas.
What'd you say, Mikey? I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
Shedeur end up in Vegas.
Brady's
with Brady there. Also, they just signed Gino, but they can get out of that within 2 years.
Yeah. But
the thing is with Carroll, he's so old. I think he's like
Tom Brady's calling the shots there, brother.
Yeah,
Pete Carroll's not.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah,
I heard going back to Shedeur for a second. I heard someone say I think it was Daniel Jeremiah, but I may be wrong. If Shedeur's on the board at pick 40 for the Saints, they're still probably not taking him.
Wow.
So I would not really mock that, but I mean, as of right now, I'm just gonna.
Man, he's taking a beat then.
Yeah, I think he's gonna go to Pittsburgh.
Situation. Like, I was never a huge fan of Shedeur personally, but going through the year, he was the number one guy. Mm-hmm. Never really understood it too much. I like Cam Ward over him.
He has a name.
But then also, it's like all of a sudden you get to draft time, and these teams they do their research. And all of a sudden you just hear this guy's gonna fall. It's gonna fall. And
what I think plays into it a little bit, and this is kind of just reading between the lines. I think early on in the process, Shedeur was convinced he was going to be a top 3, top 5 pick, whatever.
He was going one to the Giants when the Giants had the pick. He even got the shoes.
But even so, yes, that, and then once the season ended, I think he was going 1 to the Titans, 2 to the Browns, or 3 to the Giants. And fair enough, have that confidence in yourself. But it sounds like he was kind of tanking interviews with every other team because he just wanted to go to one of those top 3 guys. There are reports that teams on the back end of the top 10 were not impressed with his interview at all, and that they thought he was very entitled. They thought that he wanted to go to one of those top teams and only wanted to go to one of those top teams. And now it's reported that the Saints don't want to take him at all. So,
wow.
I mean,
I wouldn't want to be drafted by
comes
Saints
at you
anyways.
fast.
So, he might have done
that.
Fair.
He's going to fall to the Steelers and turn into one of the best things ever. It's just,
or
it's just
I don't think so. No, I'm not sold on him. I'm not sold. Matter of fact, I don't. This is a weak quarterback. This is a bad quarterback draft class. I think Cam Ward is the only true, in my opinion, star quarterback that's going to come out of this. That's
Miami.
No, I'm just saying. I'm for real. Cam Ward's a real deal. If you, regardless if you are a Kane fan or not, if you watch, the thing I liked about Cam Ward the most is he doesn't have happy feet, though he's mobile. That's one. Two, when he throws an interception or he has a bad play, it doesn't get to him. He's so calm, cool, collective. He just bounces right. It doesn't seem like anything rattles him. I like that he's going to need that going into the NFL because things aren't going to always go smoothly, especially year one. But that's what I love about him. And obviously all his physical traits, right? He could throw, he could run. But, man, watching him last year, man, if you look at the Hurricanes before he came there, their quarterbacks, and then when he came, it was night and day. It was night and day.
Didn't that sound like the same draft profile that you have for Sam Darnold coming out? He could throw a pick.
They're different.
Yeah, he had all.
Yeah, but they're different.
He was pro.
They're two different. They're different. No, they're different style quarterbacks, Mikey. Though, look at Cam Ward compared to Sam Darnold. I'm talking about how they play. I'm telling you. But hey, listen, I get it. But I'll say this too. Who knows, right? It is a gamble no matter what. This is the draft. You don't know. There's a lot of listen. Every draft, we can say who we like, who we don't like. I'm just going with opinion. It's still a role that you never know. There's guys that were electric in college and just could not figure it out in the NFL. It happens all the time. It happens all the time, right? So, and then there's guys that flew under the radar, that were, late round picks that were like, wow, where'd this guy come from? So it happens. Like I'm just exactly. So I'm just going by with what I saw and how I feel he'll transition. Now, the other flip side of that is where is these quarterbacks landing? Where are they getting drafted to? Teams can ruin quarterbacks big time, right? I mean, big time. So that's why I'm saying I think Tennessee is a good spot for him if they draft him. I don't think that's a bad organization. I think they can work with him, and they're in desperate need of a quarterback. If they trade down out of that pick, it's a huge mistake, in my opinion, because you don't always land.
I'm not saying they're staying.
They're staying.
Yeah.
I think
you
don't put out there that's what he's hearing. They're staying with the pick.
Yeah. They decided.
Which is smart because you don't know if you're going to ever land a top 3, top 5 pick again, like or at least next year, the following year. You have it now. Take it.
And if you do land it, you should be fired. So.
Right, exactly. So that's how I.
You ain't picking it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as far as the other quarterbacks go, I'm not a fan of Dart. I saw him. I wasn't impressed at all. Sanders is a hit or miss for me. I think it just depends on him, on his attitude, where he goes to. Is he going to put the work in? Yeah, it just depends, man. Will he put the work in, right? Because he has the tools. He does too. I do see it in him, but does he have that Johnny Manziel attitude where it's going to backfire on him? That could happen too. Johnny Manziel had the tools. He was really good in college. That's another guy. Really good in college, could not transition to the NFL. And he didn't put any work in. Never put the work in, and it happens a lot. So, but anyways, Captain D, is that it for the draft? For as far as you go for the Dolphins, what your thoughts were? All right, Curtis, piggyback off you. What do you want to see the Dolphins do?
I think I agree pretty much with D. I just think that it could get dicey. So even what Zach was saying, if they don't take a quarterback, Saints at 9, then they got rid of their top cornerback, not Hall of Fame, but All Pro. They could grab one of those corners. And I think, if you look at Fields with Chicago, they could grab Tyler Warren. I don't think they're going offensive line. They spend a lot on it. You go look at all they added. I don't think there's anybody going to be there that's going to be commensurate of that pick. So you could see Warren gone. And then, you look at Dallas, they can use, they could even use a corner, but I think that Barron would probably, I don't know. It's hard to say what I don't know the defense they run over in the Saints, but we could be down to one corner or maybe none. It's a bad spot for us because I think Graham's going to be gone. I think Campbell. I think Membu's going to be gone. I think probably one of the corners is going to be gone. Maybe Warren would be there, but I still think he's going to go a little bit earlier, or somebody's going to trade up for him. Yep. So he could be sort of. I had a guy on, and he's really good at the draft. That's not my thing. I tried to. I'm starting to. It's never always so burnt out from the season. But he said, I was like, oh, we're in a great spot at 13. And he said a couple months ago, we could be in a no man's land depending on how things fall. And so it depends on who reaches, who does some surprises. Shedeur Sanders not going in the top 10. that's really going to take a lot of the top talent and kind of leave us a little thin pickings. And it could be, it could be where we grab an edge guy. You know what I'm saying? Shamar Stewart is a perfect guy for Greer or something, which would be totally weird. So the Dolphins is a real tough spot. I wish Member would be there or Campbell. They're not. I'm thinking that Barron's my next favorite guy, just like D was saying. I like Johnson, but I don't like the fact that he's got turf toe already. What?
Yeah. What about Banks?
No, I don't like him. I don't like him. Nah, I don't like. See, he's for us. Like he'd be great for what we do in the outside zone. You watch him; he moves. He's so nimble. He's got a little bit of strength, but he also gets bullied, and he also struggles on the edge at times.
That's perfect playing against the Bills.
Yes.
And I just don't like. I don't like
Chris Greer's last first-round pick.
Could be, because then you think about it, like you're gonna with the 13th pick, you're gonna take a guy you don't know if he can play guard, and then when he gets to guard, he's not gonna have that cement. He's more of a mover. He's a guy who doesn't move people. He's on the move. And you got Brewer who struggles with power. You got Daniels who struggles with power and struggles with a lot. He's really hyped up, especially a guy coming with Achilles. And you got Jackson who can't move anybody. So I don't like Banks. And so, to me, the safest pick probably is one of those corners. And because Ramsey makes it even worse. So I don't know. It's a tough
put big man right next to Sealer.
Who?
Kenneth Grant. Put him right next to Sealer.
Yeah, I like my first favorite guy was Warren. Then it was Grant. But the 22 reps on the bench bothered me. And when I listened to him, I like Nolan a lot because he's a bastard. I want some bastards. And, Grant's good, but he's a little bit more of a finesse guy. He's powerful, but in the NFL, it's going to be a little different. And he's a nice guy, too. And so I don't know at 13. I was really – because I was huge on Will Fork, but that guy benched like 30-something reps. I was huge on Nagata, 30-something reps. I was huge on Vita Vea, 30-something reps. I was huge on Lawrence. He was like 28, 29.
So you want the power.
You got it, because if you're going to be a double gapper at the 0, and he's a little bit tall. He's like 6'4", but he's heavy. But it's all leverage in that pit. You got to have a certain combo. And when you watch him, almost all his big plays, he's like swims the guy. And it's like a speed thing for a big guy. He'll bully some guys.
So
but I'm a little concerned with him there.
Collins or Tyreek in round 2.
I like Tyreek. For me, it would be like Barron at 13 and Tyreek at 48. That would be like my happy time.
Are you with Captain D and possibly trading back?
Hold on, I'm not talking to you. Zach's a smart guy when it comes to draft. You don't think Tyreek?
I think some of the defensive tackles are going to fall. Like I was kind of looking at it, and like Graham's going to go, of course. Grant will probably go. Harmon will go. But like I had Walter Nolan falling out of the first round. Like
I don't think he gets
realistically. No, Kansas City's going tackle. I think I have them at Josh Simmons, and I don't see that not happening. I think they're going tackle no matter what. There's this article. Like this is kind of what I'm getting a lot of this stuff off of. This article by Destin Adams out of A to Z Sports. Great article. It was every single team and what they could be targeting, basically based off of conversations with that team.
Can you send me that link? I want that link.
Yes, I will. Now, Curtis, I don't know that you're going to love this one. With the Dolphins specifically, that was one.
I gotta smoke some weed and drink some booze before we hit it. Drop some acid or something.
The Dolphins
in the first round.
The Dolphins were close. The Dolphins were one of 3 teams that he basically said, "I don't know, but here's my best guess." Curtis, or Captain D, you want to guess what one of those positions, one of the 3 were?
Receiver.
Yes. Wide receiver.
He's
was one of the 3 that he mentioned.
T-Mac, or whatever his name is.
Yeah. So he mentioned specifically receiver, offensive line, or secondary, which doesn't really narrow it down a ton. right?
Because they could take Starks at 13.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a reach, though.
I think mentioning receiver specifically is interesting.
Well, I had a guy. He's a draft guy like you, and he's a Dolphin fan. He said that at 13, you take T-Mac, and then you can trade Hill and get off him. It gives you the off ramp.
That's not ridiculous.
But,
I don't.
But then you're still so soft. We are like Shaman on our D line, interior, and our offensive line. I mean, I get it.
Take T-Mac anyways. If you guys did that, I think you guys would take Golden over T-Mac, because if you're going to trade Tyreek, you want that speed.
Yeah, but we got it. We're supposed to have a lotto. We spent 2 first-round picks on him.
But all your head coach does is take speed.
He's an idiot.
That is true. That is very true, Mikey. That is a great point.
Could trade down and get a guy like Burden. I love Burden.
Well, that's where I was going with, Curtis. Like, are you on board with Captain D about trading down? Like, you think?
Yeah, I just don't think. I don't think that it's going to be as easy as we all hope. I think that's a little bit of a no man's land, and the price you're going to have to pay. I mean, I still think Warren's might go to Chicago, because if he wants to, if Ben Johnson wants to help out Fields, that offensive line's pretty good. They could use a running back, but if Ashton Genty's, they could really use a running back. If Genty's not there, dude, Warren helps you with the blocking. The security blanket for a quarterback is a tight end. So I don't know if he makes it past to Chicago. And then if he's not there, who's really trading up for anything? I know people like Loveland, but I don't think anyone's going to trade up that much.
This was super interesting to me, because the past month or so, throughout the media, through Schefter and Rappaport and Jeremiah and all of the draft guys and NFL insiders, it's all been nobody's going to want to trade up, because outside of the top few guys, it's just a clump of the same. Players 15 and 50 have basically the same grade. So that's kind of what I would have assumed. And then today, Ryan Poles comes out and he says specifically, there's going to be a lot of trades this year. It's going to be a very trade heavy year. Expect a lot of trades to happen. So
I just don't see that in round 1. I think if they're going to be trading, you're going to see that in round 2, 3, and 4 is where you see most of those trades.
That's definitely possible.
Every team wants to trade back. It's so hard to find a good trade partner.
Tommy wants to trade up.
Yeah, I think we do. I do. Go ahead, Anthony. Sorry,
guys. Too much to trade up.
Tommy, it really depends on who you're trading up for. But the key to matter is you can go into any draft, no matter where you're slotted, unless you need a quarterback. You most likely want to trade back, because there's always, like, if you're in a top tier with the elite players, like the 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever, get that elite player. After that, teams just want to trade back. They'd rather go quantity over quality at that point. Really, is like kind of the way teams like to go.
You sound like Brandon Beam.
Yeah, but that doesn't. I understand that philosophy, but I don't always agree with it either. Like for instance, the reason why I think, listen, it makes sense. I get it. But at the end of the day, though, there's only so many picks that you can, hold on to, right? And we know this. And me and Mikey knows this. We hoard our picks like it's nobody's business. They don't always make the roster. Most of them don't. A lot of them get picked off the practice squad. And for me, it's like, look, if you're a team and you're in a win mode, which I feel the Buffalo Bills have been, right? There's nothing wrong with trading up and getting the guy you want when you're in the win mode. This isn't a rebuild where you're trying to get as many picks as you can so you can, build up off your draft. I feel like some teams should trade up, and I feel like the Buffalo Bills have often sat or traded down, and I think it's due. I think the Bills should definitely trade up to get the guy that can make an impact. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead. Zach.
Destin Adams, that same guy I was talking about, who did that whole article, he said specifically the Bills are likely going to be looking to trade up. I'm going to just run through my mock draft real quick, because I did a first round mock just for funsies. It's a great time of the year. I had
That's right.
Cam Ward at 1 to the Titans. Browns taking Travis Hunter. Giants, Abdul Carter. Patriots, Will Campbell. Jaguars, Mason Graham. Raiders, Genty. Jets, Membu. Panthers, Jalen Walker. Saints at 9, Tyler Warren. Dolphins trading up to 10 to get Will Johnson, and I guess that's not something on the table anymore. But I'm keeping it in there because why not? Niners, Michael Williams. Cowboys, Matthew Golden. Bears, who traded down from 10, getting Amari and Hampton, that running back. Destin Adams said specifically, like, running back. That was the only position he mentioned for the Bears. So I think if Genty's not there, it's Hampton. And being able to move back, you might as well. 14 to the Colts, Colston Loveland. Falcons at 15, Mike Green. Cardinals, Derek Harmon. Bengals, Shamar Stewart. Seahawks, Tedero McMillan. Buccaneers, Jahad Campbell. I had the Bills trading up to 20 for
Isn't
Jahdae Barron.
Jahad Campbell the guy with the bum shoulder?
Barron does not fit what the Bills do, though.
All right, I'll fix that.
I'm just saying, like, if you look at the archetype, he does not fit.
I hadn't watched him because I had no reason to.
Barron will probably end up more in the slot than anything.
Okay. Yep.
I'll change that to Amos probably.
If you trade up for Amos, then I'm on board with that.
Because I had Amos going 23 to the Packers anyway, so a trade up would make sense. Anyways.
Okay.
Campbell, yes, Campbell's the guy with the bum shoulder. The Destin Adams said specifically, the Buccaneers are infatuated with Jahad Campbell, and they were pre-injury, but he doesn't know what the scenario is going to be now post-injury.
Yeah, I was seeing I've seen some interviews. They said it was really serious.
Campbell's?
I think it was labrum. I think.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want a guy banging with a bad labrum already, man. That's risky.
I thought he was supposed to be ready for training camp.
So talented, though.
But yeah, again,
that concerns me. I'm a Dolphins fan. Every single time we take a guy with an injury, they always come. They always happen. They always go down.
So,
we've had zero on those guys.
At that point,
like Tua?
Negative 70. Negative 70.
At that point, though, with Campbell specifically, like, they're at the 19th pick. They're in this very bad draft for the 19th pick. You might as well just even if there's concerns there, like, get the guy who you think can be good. And it sounds like they think Jahad Campbell can be a good football player if all is well. And I think, Mike, as you're saying, like, he's a great player. He's very talented. So despite the injury, like, if you can get a very talented player at pick 19 in a pretty crappy draft class, I think you do that.
We got Phillips at 19. That didn't go well for us. Or was it 18? 18.
Phillips? And he's been good when he's been on the field.
Yeah, but he's been out for 2 seasons.
Yeah, that's the problem, Mikey. He can't stay healthy. And you know how that goes, Mikey. We've had players like that. It sucks. Yeah. Like, what are you going to do?
I'm conservative as a GM. I mean, it might end up great, but I'm a Dolphins fan. I'm jaded. I'm bitter. I got it.
Chris Greer.
History of suffering is sour.
I had Steelers at 21 getting Shador. Little bit of maybe a reach here. I had the Chargers getting Mason Taylor, the tight end out of LSU. Sounds like they really want a weapon, whether it's a receiver or tight end. And it was also reported that they are. What was that?
That seems a little high for Taylor, but I can see it though. He's a good weapon.
It does. It was written. Adams wrote in this article that the Chargers are one of a few teams who are comfortable taking Mason Taylor in the first round. And again, in a draft class like this, where pick 20 is graded almost the same as pick 50, like, who cares if you're getting the 40th ranked guy? Look, I think Mason Taylor is going to be a top 40.
I still think the Chargers need help on you. I'm sorry, Zach. I still think they need
Yeah.
help. That center was destroyed last year. They lost their star. He went down. I would take Zabel, man. If I were them, I would take Zabel over Mason Taylor, because if you go watch that playoff game, the center was destroyed, and they have an unbelievable line. But I mean, maybe they can
And
find
Zabel's a
somebody
better
later.
player, no doubt. He's a better player, but I mean, look again. It's the NFL draft, and for all I know,
they did have too many picks on the offensive line in the top round, though. Too, you got to factor that in.
And
Can only pay so much.
For all I know, like every pick I could riddle off right now, and I could be wrong. It's the NFL draft.
No. I'm just saying. I've been talking about a rebuild since 2021. I've been saying we were doomed from then. So don't lump me up there, Mr. Scotty.
No
Scotty.
Panics going in top 10 last year.
No one saw that coming.
I'll say, yeah. Listen, the one thing about the draft is it's like Anthony just said, it's so unpredictable. Like teams take guys that are graded, that are round 2. They take them top 50. Yeah, it's exactly. So you just never know. Yeah, bro. There's always that's
100th rated player, and they took him at 29.
Or whatever. It's what makes it interesting. Yeah.
Strange has been good. It's wild. Like no one saw
Strange.
Going.
That was a strange one.
That year, no one saw him going top 15.
Yeah,
and
they still don't see it. They still don't see it, right, Zachy?
The shockers. They went friggin' Jack Campbell in the first round
and
too.
No one saw Gibbs going in the first round either.
Yeah,
they thought he was gonna be the first running back. Everyone thought
the year
round 1 or round 2.
The year the Commanders picked Jamin Davis, like there was mock drafts out there with that guy going like 3rd or 4th round.
What about
he went top 20?
Rieger over Jefferson?
Crazy, right, Anthony? That's crazy.
The Eagles took Rieger over Jefferson.
This is what I always say with the draft is it only takes one team to fall in love with one player.
True.
If the Chargers, for all we know, I'm just using the Chargers as an example, but it could be any team, any player. Like if the Chargers could have Mason Taylor as their 5th best player on the board, and does anybody else have that? No, but they don't care. It doesn't matter to them, because if they believe that that's their guy, they're going to take him. And the same can be said about, let's say, I don't think the Giants take Shedeur Sanders, but maybe they fall in love with Shedeur Sanders. It doesn't matter what everyone else thinks, because if you have a player ranked highly and you trust your scouts, as you should, who cares? If you get the pick right, that's all that matters.
Yeah, you saw that with Colin Farrell. You saw that with Daniel Jones. Leatherwood, the Raider, when Raiders took Leatherwood out of
Leatherwood. Oh, good Lord! You're right, Mikey.
Great pull.
The Raiders.
God, he was terrible.
Janikowski, a kicker with like the 17th or 18th pick in that year.
Yeah.
You know what though? Hey, the credit but the credit them. That dude was a really good kicker.
Not a first round pick though. Let's call a spade.
No, I agree, but he's borderline. He's borderline Hall of Fame. I mean, he's borderline. He turned out to be a really.
They didn't put.
I said borderline.
Ballot, so.
No, I know. I don't know if he makes it, but I say he's borderline. I mean, he wound up being in the NFL but I agree. You never take a kicker ever in first round. So that was probably one of the. I would say the Ricky Williams Saints trade was one of the wildest. Well, and I love Ricky Williams was fucking unbelievable. Like that dude was, but I don't know about trading, giving every pick. That was wild. But anyways, what do you got? 5 more picks to go, Zach? And we're gonna go to Anthony after that.
10-ish. Oh, I think honestly, why not have the Dolphins do that and get Genty? Trade everything.
Everybody, Greer just goes crazy.
It worked for Boise State.
That's a frown on Captain D's face with that.
It worked for Boise State.
I said it was fine. You didn't screw your future up with the salary cap. Now he's gonna trade your whole draft and future draft.
Well.
It's not like you don't have like 6 other running backs already.
That's also like that, Anthony. That same thing that you were saying with the, just kind of putting all your eggs in one basket for this year because you don't want to get fired. Like that's the same reasoning why I thought Shedeur Sanders was going to be a Giant up until a couple weeks ago when everybody was saying
he's going to be a Giant. I just don't think he's going to be a pick 3.
I did. Not anymore because it seems like that has passed. But
yeah, that ship has sailed.
You know, if you take Abdul Carter, great player. Don't get me wrong, great player. But Abdul Carter is not taking you from 3 wins to 9. And if you don't get 9 wins, you're fired. Do I think Shedeur Sanders is taking you from 3 wins to 9? Probably not. Almost definitely not. But I think there's a much greater possibility that a quarterback does that than an edge rusher. So
another thing
absolutely.
Too, like if they went Shedeur, like if he shows promise and they get to like 6, 7 wins, you can sell the owner on, well, we're showing progress with a young quarterback and blah blah, and buy yourself another year. But no, I don't think that's happening. I'm with you on that. I know we were talking about even like a week and a half ago. I still kind of had that little inkling of hope or faith, whatever, that the Giants would do it. But no, it's failed.
Shedeur's going to take you from pick 3 to pick 1.
Probably, maybe, but like. Again, it's just so interesting because Abdul Carter is very clearly the correct pick. Mm-hmm. There's really no debate there, right? Assuming Travis Hunter is off the board, Abdul Carter's the right pick to make. Mm-hmm. But if you take Abdul Carter, like you are basically, at least in my opinion, you're firing yourself. You're not making a pick next year. If you take an edge rusher with 3rd overall, with how bad the rest of that team is. So that's a part of what makes the draft so fun.
I wonder if they will put their pick, shop their pick to move down.
So
with Carter on the board.
It's been reported that this was reported, I think, today by Schefter. The Browns and the Giants have been taking calls. Not that means they're going to move off of it.
Yeah.
And taking calls could be, hey, you want to give us 2 first-round picks? No? All right, see you. Or it could be, oh, you want to give us your second round?
It's going to cost you 2 or 3 first-round picks to move up.
Yeah, probably
into the top 3.
I don't think a team's going to want to do that. So it could be, again, taking calls in that sense of that whole, you want to pay us a ton, or it could be taking calls of like, hey, we really want to move out of here.
Do whatever you want, just do not leave Carter to the Patriots. That's all I got to say.
Please do.
Do not leave Carter to the Patriots. No shame. Do not fuck this up.
That also what's been like the report of the Browns or Giants wanting to trade down not wanting to trade down, teams wanting to trade up has been they want to take Hunter or Carter or Genty. Mm-hmm. So, hey, be my guest. Trade up to number 2 and take Ashton Genty and leave us with Hunter or Carter.
No.
Feel free.
No, you guys are they're going to be on the board and you guys are still going to take, Campbell.
I'm sure yes. Yeah. And I would love it if the Patriots were just just go all the way in, get Travis Hunter, trade away for, I don't know what the compensation would be, honestly, but like in a draft class like this,
maybe 4 to 2?
Yeah, 4, maybe all it takes is like 4 pick 69 this year.
And next year's 1.
Next year's, see if you can do next year's 2 and a 3 maybe. Like I don't think next year's 1 should be on the table.
I think that's what they're going to ask for to move off of them.
To move up where?
2.
From 4 to 2.
2.
That's a lot to give up. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
It depends on what.
Unless I fully love, I am not giving that much draft capital to move up.
On the opposite side of Gonzalez.
I'm not doing that.
Hunter could even bump I think he'd be full-time, if not close to full-time receiver year one, because they don't really need a corner that badly. They have Gonzalez, they have Davis, they have Marcus Jones on the inside. Like, they could use some more depth, but they don't really need Travis Hunter to be a year one corner. So I think you develop him, refine him at receiver year one, and then you just sorry, I was reading that. I think you refine him as a receiver year one, maybe rotate him a bit in at corner year two, and then year three, maybe that's when you can have more of like a primary and secondary position, but to a greater extent. It's interesting, and who knows what any team is going to do with Travis Hunter because we've never seen a player like him. But
sorry, Zach.
Yeah. I would love it if the
I was
Patriots
gonna say,
but I also
are you how many more picks you got there? And we're gonna go to Anthony, so we get out of here soon.
I'll run through them in 2 minutes. I had Packers getting Trey Amos, Vikings.
Sorry, Mikey. Damn it.
Vikings Starks, Texans Banks, Rams Kenneth Grant. I didn't have much there. I just kind of went best defensive player available there. Ravens, Ezeraku, Lions, Zabel, Commanders, James Pierce, Broncos at 30, who had traded down with the Bills, getting Travion Henderson. I think they're going to be hard.
3 running backs in round 1, huh?
I think it's going to be at least 2. I think there's a chance there's 4. There's a report that the Steelers really like Judkins, which would be surprising to me. But, I mean... Genty, we know, is going round 1, no matter what. Hampton, I think, is going round 1, no matter what.
Henderson's been getting a lot of steam lately about being a round 1.
If the Bears get Genty, I think 2 running backs go round 1. If the Bears don't get Genty, let's say Genty goes to the Raiders, I think 3 go. Because I'd say there's Genty. I think the Bears are taking 1 almost no matter what, and I think the Broncos are taking 1 almost no matter what. So maybe Genty gets combined with one of those, but if not, I think 3 running backs go around 1. And then Chiefs, Josh Simmons, and then 32, I had the Saints trading up for Dart, just to get that the rookie fifth year option.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
Relatively cheap too. I had picks 40 and 93 going to Philly, and the Saints getting 32 and 134.
Okay.
Relatively cheap.
All right. I wouldn't want that for my Bills with how that went. I don't think Amos. I like Amos, but I think we can get Amos. I don't think we'd have to trade up that far up to get him. I think he can. I think he'll be matter.
Yeah.
That we could draft him at where. Yeah, I don't even know if we'd have to trade up to land Amos.
Amos is gaining a lot of steam.
Yeah.
I know.
Packers.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to say.
Amos.
Destin Adams.
Yeah, I get it.
The Packers.
But there's other corners too.
Packers are going corner, Amos or Azaria Thomas, and I think Amos is much higher on most people's boards than Azaria. So I think
Azaria has a higher ceiling.
It's fair.
Great.
Last day of the Senior Bowl too. Mm-hmm. Incredible.
I think there's a go ahead. There's a decent amount of corners. I wouldn't trade up for that. Go ahead, Anthony. What do you want to see from your team in the draft? And then we're gonna get to Mikey, and then we're gonna get out of here.
So I think Jets find themselves very familiar territory. Last year, all offseason, leading up to the draft, it was OT or tight end, and I think we're in that similar situation. I know that the overall consensus is that it's going to be Membu if he's there, and obviously I'd be thrilled with that because they're going to be a run-heavy team this year. I mentioned it earlier. I think that would be obviously logical decision. We don't have anybody sitting there at right tackle. Lost Morgan Moses to the damn Patriots.
Thank you.
So. I didn't understand that.
Tyler Warren at 7 would be ideal. You saw what Brock Bowers did in Vegas.
And that's kind of where I'm leading there. Because Tyler Warren, he's a damn good blocker. I mean, people out there believe he's much better blocker than Brock Bowers coming out last year. He definitely would provide some support for the right tackle. I mean, obviously, if you go Warren in the first round, you're basically labeling yourself as drafting an offensive tackle in the second round. It becomes a major necessity at that point. But I don't know. I keep looking at it. I keep looking at it over and over and over again, and something just points me in that direction. They're probably going to go Tyler Warren in this draft at number 7. Could be a reach, but it just makes a lot of sense. He's a nasty player. Can play well in run game. Justin Fields, he values the tight end position and in his passing. When you saw what he did with Cole Kmet with Chicago for years and years and years, high volume to the tight end. You're talking 50 to 70 receptions a year for Cole Kmet, while Justin Fields is the quarterback. There's some value there. And while the Jets have a need at right tackle, I think you can say that the need at receiver behind Garrett Wilson, pass catcher really, is a much more significant need.
I think it's a good point.
They have Lazard and a bunch of other older veteran guys that have experience, but just nobody strikes fear in an offensive-minded or in a defense coordinator. Tyler Warren will put some fear in there, especially with his ability as a pass catcher.
And if you're looking at wide receiver, you have Tet, you have Golden as the two that would probably fit there as the opposite of Wilson.
I like Golden a lot. I mean, when the draft process is going on early in the process, I like Golden as a second round option. He's rised up boards. I mean, he's going top 20, is what it more and more seems like at this point. And some even saying top 15. I can see that happening too. He's just that dynamic. I can see that happening. Tet, I like a lot too. I just don't know. I mean, I just don't know that
Boomer bust guy.
Yeah, I just don't know if he fits the Jets' needs at this point. They need to hit on these picks. The Jets need 4 starters in this draft out of their first 4 picks, 4 or 5 picks. It's a really need at this point because they're very thin in a lot of areas because they went really kind of cheap in free agency. They need starters. I can't see him going the boomer bust prospect like that, which is why I kind of see him going Tyler Warren. He just seems like that can't miss type of tight end prospect. And who knows? Kyle Pitts was
could
out
you
as well.
See them?
Could
you see them going Genty if they're going to trade Brees?
I just can't see him trading Brees. Is my
well,
thing
he's coming up on contract.
I would trade him. I would trade him for Genty any day of the week. I think.
Oh, absolutely.
I think Genty's going to be
absolutely.
I don't think.
I remember telling Curtis about Genty. Remember Curtis? He's like, who was that guy over? I never heard of that guy over here. You better go watch him.
And again, this goes back to the Jets' needs of multiple starters. Mm-hmm. I mean, I love Genty a lot. Great prospect. If the Jets were in a different situation, I'd be all for him picking him at 7. But it doesn't make sense at this point when you need 3 or 4 starters on day 1 to draft a running back and then trade one of your starters. You're kind of putting yourself back at square one. Obviously, Genty has years of that rookie contract ahead of him. It just makes a little more sense. The Jets aren't a running back away. I feel like the teams that pick a running back are looking for that that push over the top. I mean, like when Dallas picked the Zeke.
You know what I like about Genty though? He's a workhorse, man. Like that dude, you can give him the rock 30 times. Like that dude does not get tight. That's all they did in college. Like they just kept feeding him.
College than the NFL, though.
No, absolutely. But what that tells me is that he's more than capable. Even I understand what you're saying. It's different in the NFL, but he's more than capable of handling that many snaps or beyond that snap count. So, like I believe like that dude could he definitely, especially listen, if there's a way to get him and move on from, you're right. You got him on a rookie deal. You got yourself the best rookie coming out running back. Why not take that? I 100% would roll the dice.
You have a whole offensive tackle. You have a hole at wide receiver. You have a hole on your interior defensive line. You have a hole at safety.
I read a report today that said that the Bears and the Jets were talking about Brees. About the moving Brees to the Bears. The Bears have 2 second-round picks. So
and you can fill that.
For a second, that could help you fill one of those holes.
It's not going
Exactly.
I don't think.
Exactly.
My question is, are the Bears giving up a second-round pick for Brees at this point?
It was just an article that I read.
No,
They were talking about it.
I hear you. If the offer is a second-round pick, I think it makes sense. I just don't know if a team's giving a second-round pick for a running back they're going to have for 1 year and have to give a contract to next year, and especially a guy coming off
we got one
a couple years ago.
Anthony, I'm going to back you up a little bit here too.
We do.
I'm gonna back you up a little bit here because I know Tommy. Unless I misheard him, mentioned why not Genty on a rookie deal. Well, Genty that high on a rookie deal, I believe, would be the fifth highest paid running back in the NFL. When Bijan came into the league at pick 8, I think he was like the second highest paid running back in the NFL because running backs don't get paid and top draft picks have that fixed salary. So
it's changing, though. It's changing. Those running back numbers have jumped.
Exactly. James Cook wants 15 a year.
The only thing I would add to that,
he's going to be a premiumly paid guy immediately. Like
but if he's but if he's an impactful player though, Zach, and he can bring that, then it doesn't really. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like right now, Breece Hall. I like Breece Hall. I do, but I think if you're going to pick one of the two, and you got to pay Breece Hall anyways, I take Genty. Because I think he's a better running back, in my opinion. I think you're going to get more out of him. I think he's more physical. Yeah, so why not? Like I would absolutely.
There's a thing from
I
an
also believe Breece Hall's contract is going to be not as outlandish as some of these other running back contracts at the moment. I mean, again, Breece hasn't got 1,000 yards rushing.
The thing is, though,
not all his fault. Obviously, the offensive mindset we've had running the show haven't been the greatest. When he's on, and maybe after this year, it's a different conversation. But as of today, I don't know that contract is going to be out that crazy for Breece.
I'm getting excited.
Go ahead, Curtis.
Got an answer.
Go, Curtis.
I'm excited. So the only thing, Anthony, is this. Breece Hall is a speed burst pop guy. He's a guy to catch. He sucks making one guy miss, like in a small space. And if you got Fields, he automatically creates a numbers issue. And it's going to leave Genty on his own. And he can make almost everybody miss. And so even if you run, say, like you're running off tackle, you're running to the B gap, and you have Fields rolling to the other side, there's going to be immediate freeze. And it's going to leave the numbers where he's going to be one-on-one likely with like a DB. And he'll destroy them. I think if he goes to a team like, say, with Fields or not Fields. What's the other guy with the Chicago? What's his name?
Williams?
Yeah.
Williams. Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody who can get on the move. If you watch, that's what's really coming down to is creating those numbers. And if you leave him one-on-one, he is this guy is like a rare talent. I mean, he is like an 80s, 90s type exceptional talent. Breece is great, but you even saw the time when he was running down the edge and he couldn't juke back inside for the touchdown. He's a little stiff-hipped and he's a little tall. And so what Genty is going to do and is why he's going to change some things is because he's going to force dedication to that A and B gap. And that's going to open up a lot of stuff. But if you've got a mobile quarterback and you do an RPO, it could really make him an ultra dangerous weapon. And you don't need to give it to him a lot. So I just think that guy is going to be amazing.
Again, there's a good chance that he's not even there at that point. So
Giants could.
That is true too. Yeah. No, absolutely right. You're right, Mikey. Yeah, absolutely right. All right. Get to Mikey, and then we're going to get out of here. Mikey, what do you see the Bills doing in this draft, man? And we're all of us going to be live for the draft. So.
I have no fucking clue. Listen, every year I think I know what the Bills are going to do. They don't do it. So.
Right.
Really, I should say, Tommy, last couple of years you've hit. What are we doing at the draft?
I have.
D tackle or corner. I really do think it's going to be one of the two. But I have no, and I need to stop falling in love with players. I so badly wanted players, and they don't take.
We're all guilty of it, though. So, yeah, we're all guilty of it. So I hit the last two. I hit the last two. Okay. I think this year I'm going to be right again. 3 years in a row. I think we're going to trade up. I think we're going to get Grant. I think we're going to go defensive tackle because that's a position the Buffalo Bills have needed for since the beginning of Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane's time here. They have not addressed it. They have tried to put band-aids on it by signing free agents, overpaying guys to come here. It has not worked. They have not gone through the draft since Ed Oliver, really, as far as defensive tackle, who was an undersized defensive tackle. They needed a guy next to him to make Ed Oliver blossom and shine. They need a bigger body. They need a guy like Kenneth Grant. And I think in order to get Kenneth Grant, you have to trade up in this draft. And I believe Brandon Beane, they could, and I understand that, but I just have a feeling this is the draft where Brandon Beane went back last year. He's going to go forward this year. He's going to trade up. He's going to get Grant. I actually have a feeling that this draft here by Brandon Beane is going to be aggressive. I can see a lot of things going on in this draft because we have those pieces. We have 2 second-round draft picks, right? That extra second-round draft pick is huge. So I have a feeling that right there is going to be dealt somewhere. And I do believe we get in the third, but I do believe we get our defensive tackle and a cornerback with our first 2 picks. And I think Grant is definitely going to be a Buffalo Bill. That's where I'm going with that. I could be wrong, of course. Who knows? But that's where I'm going. Also, look, we got the James Cook issue going on, right? Obviously, James Cook did not show up to voluntary whatever. It's voluntary. Bills fans don't. That's calm down. It's not the end of the world. It's voluntary. A lot of guys don't show up. However, he did sell his house with all his belongings, game balls, jerseys, like that. There is weird. So I would definitely keep an eye on the Bills and James Cook situation. Could he get traded on draft day? Very possible. Very, very possible. Can the Bills wait after draft day, after the draft, and trade James Cook? Possible. Could they just keep him? Another. Of course, listen, James Cook has to play regardless. He has to finish out his rookie deal. So it's going to be interesting. I think the Bills have a lot of interesting little plots going on. But I do believe in the draft, we trade up. I think Brandon Beane's going to be a little bit more aggressive this year rather than last year where he was hoarding picks more than being aggressive. We haven't been aggressive in a draft for a while. Because, listen, we traded up to get Dalton Kincaid. I didn't feel like that was a super aggressive trade up. And I also don't think that was a great trade. I don't think, I like Dalton Kincaid, but it wasn't anything that was, I think me and Mikey were kind of disappointed, at that moment. We didn't really understand it. When I talk about,
it made 0 sense.
Exactly. It made 0 sense. And especially when we needed other positions filled at that, it just didn't, I didn't understand it. But like I said, right now, I think, listen, the Bills window isn't closing, right? I don't think it's closing anytime soon, but it's also not totally wide open, right? Like, Allen is starting. We got to be careful with that, right? Because before you know it, right, Allen's getting up there in age, and now and if you're not winning a Super Bowl yet, now you're really starting. You don't want to get into that desperate. Oh shit, Allen's getting out of his prime. We got to get desperate, right? Like, so I think now's the time where you got to get a little bit more aggressive and get the players that can be impactful, right? We're not coming off a Super Bowl where we're like, hey, we don't need an impactful player. We have a full team. We're good to go. Let's run it back. Listen, we're a good team. I think we'll win the AFC East again, but I think there's pieces that need to be filled, and defensive tackle or defensive line in general needs to be fixed. It needs to be corrected, and this is the time to do it.
Dom,
all right. Anything else? Oh, go ahead.
Do you think last year's draft was for the Bills was a bit of a wake up call, like for why they should be aggressive now, or do you think that you thinking they'll trade up, is that kind of separate from what happened last year with Worthy, or is that tied in?
So here's my thing on the last year's draft. I wanted Keon Coleman, and I thought they would go, and that's why I was right. I had a feeling they were going to trade down.
Oh, yeah,
I thought Josh Allen. I predicted Keon Coleman. I liked the size. I thought he was a player that had potential, and I still think he does. Right? Doesn't have the best route running. Separation issue is something, but I think he can improve. However, if I could go back in time, Brian Thomas Jr. for 100%. If I could trade up to get him, yes. But I will say this as well: it takes two to tango. You have no idea who we call. They're never going to really. It's not going to come out. Hey, this team called for this team, and the trade was declined. Like, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We can only go on what our GMs tell us, right? And what Brandon Bean said was Keon Coleman, right? And what if we gonna go on what our GM said, Keon Coleman was their number one receiver, which is kind of crazy. Because really and truthfully, Brian, if you could have had the opportunity, you should have traded up for BTJ. I wasn't sold on Worthy. I didn't think he fit the system. I still think if you go back and look at last year's numbers, Keon Coleman and Worthy were they were neck to neck. Worthy, matter of fact, Keon Coleman missed a month of football. So if you go look at the stats, they were very, very close in what they did. The only difference is one made it to a Super Bowl, and the other didn't, really, at the end of the day, right? So let's say the Bills make the Super Bowl. Let's say we did last year, hypothetically. Then nobody would be saying, oh, that was a terrible. I can't believe it.
Well, one helped his team in the playoffs, the other didn't.
No, I agree with, but I'm just saying, I don't think Worthy overall in a regular season, we're talking like what he did, did he help them get to the playoffs? Like, was he a primary weapon? Like, I didn't feel like that was the case, Mikey. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like if you look at the two and what they did for their teams, I understand what you're saying, but my point is, if it looks great now for the Chiefs because they got to the Super Bowl with them. But if they didn't, I don't know if this conversation would be had. You know what I mean? Like, wow, the Worthy, Keon Coleman trade. Like, if they don't make the Super Bowl, I don't think anyone said, wow, Worthy was so dynamic and great. He had this unbelievable season. I cannot believe the Bills traded back. Like, the only thing I would say about that is don't trade to a team that you can't beat. that you're trying to get to the Super Bowl, right? Like, that's a one team. Right. Like, that's the only negative part. But look, man, Zach, at the end of the day, I feel like, me and Mikey's gone through Brandon Bean drafts. He's done a good job, right? I don't think it's been unbelievable, but we've gone through it, and he's done a very good job. A lot of guys that he hit on late. If you look at Christian Benford, who just got paid, 6th-round draft pick, and nobody really talks about Kyrie Elam being the bust because Christian Benford was in the same draft, and he was hit. So if you swap and put Benford as the number one draft pick, nobody cares. So I just feel like now is the time to be a little bit more aggressive. It's been a while, and that's what he'll do. But that's it, man. I think Curtis left us. Yeah. So it's been like, Curtis like, I'm out of here. So anyways, guys, man, it was awesome. Over 2 hours. I knew it was going to be kind of a long show because we needed to just kind of recap. We needed to recap on the whole AFC East. And man, Zach, once again, Syracuse Zach, congratulations, man. That's an awesome thing for you. Yep. Captain D, my dude, showing up. Man, you know your stuff. I appreciate you. Anthony, my man, he'll be back this year for AFC East Shakedown.
Sure.
And then Mikey, who man, thank you, Mikey. Mikey, by the way, guys, I was in my car tonight because I had to work. So you're welcome, whoever's out there watching. And Mikey came in and helped out with production and doing everything as well and contributed. So thank you, Mikey, and thank you all of Bills Mafia and everybody watching. And we're returning this year again for AFC Shakedown. And that's it, man. We're out of here. Any last words? Anybody?
Go Bills.
JTS.
That's it. All right, go Bills. Are out of here. Peace.
Bye-bye. See, Peter, he's too fast. You gotta tackle me. It's B. You gotta press B. I'm pressing B. He's too fast. Going over here? Going over here now? Never get tired.